wrestling kids and the millions listening live around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready for Around the Table.
Ladies and men, whether or not you are gentle, this is the Round Table Wrestling Podcast, where we talk round the table about wrestling and wonderful wrestling world. And I have the esteemed guests and hosts of this show. I have Keith Wildman Miller.
Hey,
Say
hey.
hello, Keith. We
Hey.
have Brent Nightmare Ward,
Hello, everyone.
and we also have Bree Not That Bella Ward.
Hello, everyone.
Yep. And it is me, Pablo Kino Aquino, and we are live on a beautiful day, and we are going to talk the wonderful world of professional wrestling. And with that being said, I would like to go off to the nightmare, and if you could start us off with the happenings.
Well, it's a little bit different this week because we're actually going to do a special.
Ooh, I like
Yes,
it.
it is a special, and I'm going to let Bree tell us all about it.
Yes, the special this time is on women's wrestling. And we're going to touch on some backstory a bit and also talk about, where it's going to be heading and leading. But first, let's hit some of wrestling news. So currently, WWE has no plans for Nakamura. What does everyone think of that? Keith?
I mean, have they ever had any plans for Nakamura? Let's be honest. The guy came over with so much hype. He was the Japanese Shawn Michaels. I think anybody who watched New Japan expected big things, but they just were never able to capitalize. Never really able to capitalize on his aura and his wrestling ability. For some reason, it didn't translate. I don't know if it was because they didn't give him steady storylines or because even though they brought him in and he had, fantastic matches with AJ, which everyone knew he would, it just didn't connect somehow. I don't really know what happened with Nakamura, but I feel like they've failed him from the beginning,
Okay, yeah. I hear you on that. Pablo, what do you think?
I actually really like that comp because, yeah, I was a big fan of his in New Japan, and when he came to NXT and I heard that theme music and all of that, I had such big hype, but immediately I knew that the Vince machine up there was just going to do what they've done with Tajiri, what they've done with pretty much most Asuka, most outer talent from especially Japan and other countries where they don't speak as English well, or just not well enough. It's not their first language.
Mm-hmm.
It's just literally it's lost in translation, as well as like they try to figure out, even now after they did, they wanted to legitimize Shinsuke Lo and they did that like anime type feel where they made him seem like, kind of like what they're doing with Andrade, where they were just trying to make him look good through vignettes and, but there was, he had everything to be a star here. Him losing to AJ and not getting the title then killed him.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
made every ounce of momentum go, and then just trying to pick it back up from where it was. We're not stupid as wrestling fans, you know? Like we can see that he's been slumping and trying to just lift somebody from the doldrums of like perpetual like less than mid card. Like he's not even going for the IC.
Right.
He's not even
Yeah.
Right.
in the talks for US championship. He's not in a tag. He's unable to, he has that charisma, he has that it factor, but in Japanese. And that's
Right.
the horrible thing about it. And we'll never see a Funaki the way he would have been in New Japan. We might not even see a same Julia or Stephanie Vaquer being outside of their countries. It's just a crappy situation, but you kind of can't really do anything about it. If they can't figure out something for somebody who can't get themselves over on the mic, then what can you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys
Uh,
mind if I pop in with something real quick, just off of what Pablo was saying?
Mhm.
Go
I
ahead.
think I think that one of the things that helps Julia and Stephanie Vicur and Io Sky even
Mhm.
is they are undeniably very beautiful women, and
Yeah,
that helps. You know what I
yeah.
mean? It helps as far as a push. Like Julia's gimmick is she's the beautiful disaster, the beautiful madness, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's all
Beautiful
part of the
Madness, yeah.
deal. Yeah. And I think that like if Shinsuke Nakamura had like if he looked like Bruce Lee was a good looking dude. You know what I mean? Like if he had
Wait,
like a matinee, like handsome thing
hold
and
on,
a
hold on,
body, you know what I mean? What's up?
hold on. I was gonna say, okay, all right.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just saying like it hurts him though, you
Let's
know?
ask. The let's ask not the Bella.
Okay.
Do you not find Shinsuke, no offense, Brent, do you not find Shinsuke ruggedly handsome? Do you not think he's
Okay.
a total Chad?
Honestly, he is not my cup of tea, to
Right.
be honest.
And
I mean, okay, I do like how he comes out with the violin and how he presents himself. Yes, he does not have the mic skills for America because he cannot speak English that well.
right.
But yeah, overall, he's not my cup of tea, but he is a great wrestler. I do like watching him in the ring. I do like um how he performs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tajiri was a good
Yeah.
looking guy. Not Tajiri. Michinoku. Taka was a good looking guy.
Hmm.
And I think that's
Mhm.
what helped him on the main roster. He could barely speak English either. But, there were some girls who'd be like, oh, he's such a little cutie. No one's looking at Nakamura and thinking that, really. You know what I mean? I guess he's got his little vibe and stuff, but it's not universal.
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
And I think that hurts when you're trying to market to like a
Almost definitely.
giant, to a worldwide audience. If you can't make the connection on the mic and you can't make the connection physically, it's just not going to happen,
Mhm.
Gwen,
But
what
anyway,
do you think about all this?
What do I
Yeah.
think about it? Well, personally, I love Shinsuke Nakamura. I can't figure out why they are not giving him anything. Triple H absolutely loves Shinsuke Nakamura, but yet they don't have nothing for him. It's kind of disappointing, actually, because if you go back and watch some of his New Japan stuff, it's phenomenal. Him and AJ Styles have had absolute barn burners. I I missed the whole Shinsuke Nakamura with Pat McAfee dancing on the table.
Mhm.
Um,
He put
but
him
yeah,
over.
if you
Yeah.
can't have the connection with the fans, and you're just going to be another low Carter, and right now he's not even on the card. So
Right.
I
Mhm.
think that they should give the man a release and let him go elsewhere, back to Japan or wherever he needs to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you can't find him a niche in where he's at right now and let him perform, definitely like do something. Let him go somewhere else and let him shine or something.
Yeah, why hold the
I
man?
agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
for sure.
Well, can I
Right.
mention on what you just said? Why hold the man? They have every reason to hold the man because he's a star.
Right. Someone,
Well,
if he goes
yes,
somewhere else and they actually know what to do with him,
exactly.
that's
Hmm.
one more wrestler they have to compete with. You
But
know?
here's the thing about it, and I'll get off of it, right? If you see him in NXT, perfect. Didn't
Mhm.
need it.
I agree.
What was wrong?
Right.
What's wrong with how they did it in NXT? He was a world beater. He had
Yeah,
good matches. He was charismatic. His entrance was everything. Why can't that still be the thing anymore?
I
yeah,
think
Why
that
can't
in
somebody just be an
NXT,
entrance?
yeah, I think that in NXT, the ring, the stuff that happens in the ring is a little bit more important than what happens on the main roster.
I
You know
I
what I
agree
Yeah,
with
mean?
that.
And that's why I
yeah.
like NXT so much. Like the in ring
Hmm.
stuff is more important than whereas back in the WWE on the main roster, you have to have what they would consider a complete package. They won't just focus on your
Hmm.
strengths. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
If Braun Breaker wasn't so good on the mic because he's scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He
Hmm.
wouldn't be where he is. He'd be I don't know, he'd just be a big guy who was athletic. Um so you need to have all of it when they call you up. And unfortunately, only because he doesn't speak English. You
Yeah.
know, I'm sure
Yeah.
that the stuff that he says is very dramatic. It's just we
Hmm.
don't, you know, it doesn't connect with us, unfortunately.
And
Yeah.
So
and the thing about it is that he does actually speak, and they have the subtitles. It just
yeah,
doesn't hit the same.
It
Right.
doesn't.
right.
Subtitles is not
Yeah,
going to make you shiver.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
let's move on here.
Mhm.
Next topic I want to approach is Booker T criticizing AEW for being too focused on wrestling. All right.
Hmm.
So Brent, why don't you take this one?
Well, he's not wrong. I think that they are a little bit too focused on trying to wrestle, and it really hurts their dynamics as a show because there's no storylines, and wrestling is a story. You have to have storylines. They've tried other companies have tried not to have storylines. It don't work. It works a little better in the indies as because there's so many moving pieces in the indies. But when you're talking about a mainstream company such as AEW, TNA, WWE, even NWA for that matter, you have to have stories, and that's how you get your wrestlers over.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, Booker T nailed it. AEW has crappy attendance right now, crappy ticket sales. Everything's downhill for them guys, and they got a talented roster. So why?
They do have a huge
Mhm.
talent in their roster.
Yeah, and it's sad because there is so much potential there. Give me a chance, Tony. Give me a chance. I'll write you
Oh
storyline, my
my.
friend.
Oh dear.
Ooh.
Pablo, what do you think?
Okay. This is one of the crazy. I just want to hop off of what Bree just said. The amazing, absurd amount of talent, and then I had to watch main event a collision, a strap match between Hangman and Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett. I'm watching Jeff Jarrett, the wrestler I hated the most back in my childhood
Uh-huh.
because he had the worst finisher, even worse than the Miz, who actually bastardized his.
Oh, okay.
Jeff Jarrett is he was the reason I stopped watching TNA. He was the reason I stopped watching NWA. He was the reason I stopped. I can't with him. But as far as the what Booker T says, I've always been a big fan of Booker T until he speaks. Um, if I'm being honest, I'm okay with it because one, AEW has a trouble manufacturing. They have trouble making storylines. Like a lot of the people's storylines are like Tony Storm going out of her way to make her own thing, like, and
Yeah.
then the
Yeah.
Young Bucks doing the elite stuff. YouTube, their YouTube is more lit than AEW, if we're being honest. But
Oh,
I'm
Facts.
okay with it. I'm okay with them being more wrestling because they are the counterculture to WWE, and I feel like WWE has too little wrestling.
too
I
much
feel like
storyline and not
WWE
enough
has
wrestling.
it's too much storyline, too much fluff. And the thing I liked about NXT back then is because they don't have, even right now, they don't have time for the fluff. They
Right.
have to get to the
Mhm.
wrestling. You know why? Because they only have an hour. and they're
Well,
they're
NXT is
shooting
2
all
hours
four
now,
of them
but
in the same. Yeah, but back then it was just an hour, and they had time.
Yeah.
They can make all these people work. They can have the good quality wrestling, and here and there you'll have some storyline, but it'll be behind the scenes and not on air. You know,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I've said this multiple times. I'm gonna say it again. My favorite wrestling to watch right now is the NWA and NXT.
Mhm.
And the reason is because they're focused on what happens in the ring. NWA, I'm not sure if Billy Corgan books that stuff. I don't know who their guy is, but almost all of their stories take place in the ring. It's pursuits for belts, it's rivalries, it's somebody is a little bit mentally unstable, but they get it across in the way that he wrestles and the things that they do in the ring. It's all translated through the matches and through the physicality, and I love that. And occasionally, you'll get somebody jumping somebody outside the ring or somebody interrupting somebody else's promo, and that's cool. That's easy. That's simple. That's old school. I love that stuff.
Mhm.
That's the kind of like territory stuff that I love. And NXT is sort of the same way. Like it's built on what happens in the ring, and that's where the rivalries happen. You know.
Yeah.
So I don't watch AEW personally. Part of the reason is because it's very hard to find. Like you can't, if you're just streaming, it's almost impossible to watch AEW without spending an extreme amount of money. A month. You know what I mean? Like $50 a month to get
Yeah.
Sling, which is pretty much the cheapest just to watch AEW. I'm good. Because there's not much else that I have to watch. So I can only speak on the little bit that I've seen and what I read. I don't like AEW because they don't even tell stories in the ring. You know what I mean? And they need to do that. They need to at least build some rivalries and not just every show is just throwing some people together. I think having MVP out there and trying to put together like the Hurt Syndicate and stuff is cool. Hopefully that can go somewhere. But they need to do stuff like that. They need to do scouting. They need to do this guy doesn't like this guy. This guy wants to go for the belt. This guy's trying to stop him. All of that stuff can be done without goofy backstage stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they need to work on. And I totally agree with Pablo. I am a huge Booker T fan until Booker T talks. I think Booker T talks out of his ass so much, dude. I think he just reacts to like
it's all work.
Yeah. Well, and you know what the thing is,
all
too?
work.
I don't know how familiar you guys are with Rochelle Rose. Since we brought up Booker T, I'm going to talk about it. Are you familiar with Rochelle Rose, Pablo? Do you know the deal? So Rochelle Rose worked for Booker T. Really talented young girl, pretty, good in the ring. And there was another wrestler who is kind of mentally unstable. Like people have sort of said, this guy is not right in the head. And he made up a relationship with her. And he would like come to the shows and like act crazy. And because he was one of the boys, Booker T chose to fire Rochelle and keep this guy.
Okay.
And she sort of got blackballed from wrestling in Texas for a while because of Booker T, more or less.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
And none of it was her fault. Like this wrestler who had been a little bit established and kind of like friends with the boys and whatever. What finally ended up happening was he showed up at a bar after the show and the whole roster like kicked his ass because he wouldn't leave her alone.
Oh,
But then he said that Rochelle instigated it. By being attractive? Like, I don't get it. How did she instigate it? You know what I mean? So ever since that all came out, and that's all like confirmed stuff. I mean, Booker T has some really terrible quotes that came out of it. Man, I love Booker T as a wrestler, but I just can't respect him as a human anymore, dude.
And
You know, like it's just terrible. So everything that he says, I'm just kind of like, oh, shut up, Booker T. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Yeah.
I kind of okay. So that Okay, that's interesting. I did
Yeah.
not know that about all that, and that kind of touches some of the stuff that's going to be later on brought up during our
Sure.
topic of women's wrestling. So,
Oh, and the other thing is too, Booker T got invited to come to Jacob Fatu's last match. And he was literally at a bar like 2 blocks away from the match and just decided he didn't want to go.
What? A,
oh wow,
Yeah, his last match on the Indies. You know what I mean? He was just like, I'm not going to some stupid indie show, and he just, yeah. So screw Booker T, man. All right,
Okay.
anyway,
it's a bit of a
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all know that Raw is now going to do a Netflix shift, and we all have this hype of what it's going to be, what they're going to do, and everything. But CM Punk has come out with he shuts down the speculation about the edgier content. What do you all think of the shift? Like, is it going to be more edgier? You think they're going to go more towards how they used to be when they were in Attitude Era, or do you think it's maybe even a good move to go to Netflix? Pablo, what do you think?
Well, every time I'm thinking about this Netflix move, it just makes me think of Lucha Underground and the
Okay.
theatrics they had, the very, how they did their promos and their vignettes. It was almost like overdone, which as a wrestling purist and all of that, I would rather it be like just down, like gritty. Kind of how
Yeah.
I like NWA, to where like I can tell they're in like a, it's wrestling, it's down to it, and I don't want there's already so much pageantry with the entrances. There's already so much pageantry with the stuff you wear.
Right.
Why go to a place and just make an entire just spectacle of everything? I feel like it's going to make those, what, 2 hours? Is
Yeah.
it a 2 hour thing? And then
It's gonna
Two,
be
3 hours.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
so.
maybe
technically
3.
3 hours. It's going to make it, I feel like it's not going to flow as well.
Okay.
As far as what is there going to be no commercials? Is that the thing? Is it going to just be like
No,
three
there's been
hours of
some people speculating that like they're going to go back to raunchy content because they're not going to have people watching over them, and CM Punk shut it down. But
well, it just
Yeah.
with Netflix, it doesn't actually give me that to where they do that, because I feel like it might alienate a certain grad demographic that they would want.
Yeah,
You know how John Cena had the Ash Ketchum syndrome, where he was like, we can't change Ash Ketchum in Pokemon from 10 years old because the kids will stop watching. So it's like, we
True.
can't make John into a heel. We can't make John into a mean guy, because if he is, then the kids will turn and they'll be like, oh, my hero is gone. And like Cody Rhodes is that new like baby face of the franchise. So I don't imagine it's going to be raunchier, but I do feel like it's going to be just more pageantry and more just gimmicky, and something that I didn't like about Lucha Underground. I liked the action more in Lucha Underground rather than the little stories they tried to tell with Jeff Cobb's character. It was a monster locked in the basement and all of that stuff. It's just
yeah,
Right. Yeah. I kind of I do have to agree with you, Pablo, on that because I do feel like it is over the top, and that you don't have the wrestling like you used to. So I do agree with you on that. Keith, what are your thoughts?
well, personally, there was a lot of good stuff about the Attitude Era, but it's very romanticized. There was a lot of terrible stuff. Like I
yeah,
can do without the Attitude Era. I love Edge and Christian. DX was great. Kurt Angle was awesome,
Hmm.
but a lot of it just fell flat for me. That was when I was really more focused on the wrestling than the promos and stuff. I really, at
Gotcha.
that point, I was just like, I don't care about people's characters. I don't really care about the storylines. I just want to watch what they're doing in the ring, because a lot
Yeah.
of the stuff that was happening outside of the ring, I couldn't relate to. And now as a 50-year-old man, I definitely wouldn't be able to relate to it. So I personally am hoping that they don't go back to that. I mean, adding a little bit of content that might be a little more adult is fine, but not a whole show of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
uh,
Okay.
as far as CM Punk shutting it down, what does CM Punk know? You know what I mean? Like, honestly, the only person who could really shut it down would be Triple H or Stephanie, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's probably just giving his opinion, and then people are like, "Oh,
Right.
well, Punk said this." You know what I mean? But so what? You know,
Right.
like, I
Yeah.
don't. If John Cena has said, and I mean, it may be a lie, but John Cena has said that he was never in a position to stop anybody's push. If John Cena was
Right.
never in a position to stop anybody's push, CM Punk doesn't know what they're going to do on Netflix. You know, that's just
My nose
my
grew
yeah. That's
from that
awesome.
lie. My nose grew.
Yeah, he totally. It could have been a lie,
So,
but that's what he said. So.
All right, Brent.
so John Cena definitely crushed some careers. I don't care what that man says. You know, and as
Oh,
well
man.
as Randy Orton also crushed some careers there too. But
Well, yeah,
as
Randy
far
Orton,
as-
Kofi, and Ken Anderson. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
he destroyed him.
Yeah.
As far as CM Punk goes, we'll see. We'll see what happens whenever they go to Netflix. I think it's going to give them a little bit more freedom on the mic.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. I don't think that they're going to get raunchy or go back to the bikini contest and all that crap. These girls, they work their asses off. And I
Yeah.
don't think that they're going to allow that to happen too much.
Right.
Like I said, going to Netflix, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out for them being on Netflix. Hopefully it don't destroy it, like a lot of people think it will. But we'll see. But like I said, I think that most of it's going to come on the microphone side of things, what they can do on the mic, and maybe bring some blood back into wrestling on WWE, because that's something that they're lacking. But yeah, it can be good and it can be bad. So we'll just have to wait and see how it turns out.
Yeah, I just want to be Chad for just 1 second. I
Okay.
think WWE going to Netflix fucking sucks. It sucks. That's my tribute to Chad because he's not here. Because he said that. He said that like every single time we brought it up. His
Yeah.
first comment is, "Oh, it fucking sucks." That's so. There's Chad.
Oh, what's TNA stand for? Oh no, totally sucks.
All right, so some other news. So Saraya, she was also once known as Paige in WWE, but she's now in AEW, and she has a new contract, and it's kind of just an extension. 1 year that will keep her in the company until like at least September. Now, I for one never thought she would wrestle again because of her injury, way back then. But I'm kind of glad that she was able to overcome that and get back into wrestling. I am a fan. But what do you all think about this extension, Brent?
Well, so is Xavier Woods a fan.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
boy. Oh,
Just
Don
saying.
DeMarco.
you had to go.
And whoever his homie was.
Don DeMarco.
I think it's awesome that Paige or Saraya is able to get back in there. She really hasn't done a lot this past year, but I think that with the extension, it's not the typical extension of a 5-year. They gave her a 1 year, so I hope that she at least gets her hands on at least TBS championship or something. I'm just sad that she's still in AEW because she would have been a lot better, and I guarantee she would give Jordan Grace a run for her money if she was in TNA.
Oh, okay.
Don't get me started.
Well,
me up.
Hey now.
hey now, Pablo. Well, let's hear it. What are your thoughts on this?
All right, this is a double whammy, considering that before Gigi Dolan, Paige was my ultimate waifu. And shout out to Xavier Woods. He's every man's dream.
Yep.
He's doing well for himself. Eventual heel turn, but let's see. So Saraya just had a Saraya rules match at Grand Slam and lost.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Spoiler alert. But Aside from getting the title in a very give you the rub in England thing, she doesn't really have anything going on aside from being the mean girl with Harley Cameron. And I don't think they have any intentions for her. I feel like she is going to be one of those people that ferries along these newer wrestlers,
Mhm.
especially the women's division. She's one of the stalwarts of the women's division anywhere she goes because she's been wrestling since she was in the womb.
Yeah.
Like she literally was in a like in a wrestling ring 4 months into being born. Like her mother was a wrestler, her father had a wrestling company. Like she's about wrestling, she understands it. And I was very sad when she was hurt a first time and then a second time.
Yeah.
And her retiring, it made me think, I was like, darn it. But then she comes back and it makes me realize I think it's passing her. I don't know if she's believable enough in the ring anymore to where, like, that Rules match, they were hitting each other with VCRs, a keyboard.
Ouch.
Like it didn't start
Oh,
until
Lord.
she slapped Jamie Hayter. I'm like, yeah, now you're just coming up with like, oh, I've been wrestling my whole life. There's nothing I haven't done, and let me just do whatever. But I'm not really crazy about it.
Gotcha.
Good luck
Okay.
to her. I don't care where she goes after though.
Keith?
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is like I'm happy that she's going to be able to end things on her terms, as opposed to going out with an injury. Like that's cool. I'm assuming that the reason it's such a short contract is because like just a 1 year extension is because she's done. You know, I think she's probably going to get this one last run and maybe go into training or something like that.
Yeah.
I think having her on your roster, especially with a roster as young as the AEW roster, is a great idea. Like she's
Mhm.
going to help those girls, and kind of like Pablo. I don't know. I think her best days in the ring are probably behind her. Some of it may be because of her injuries. Like she may be more cautious than she used to be. Um, but I wish her the best. You know what I mean? And I think that this last year could be the last year that we see her wrestle. So we might as well enjoy it. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Let's enjoy it. Let's see what, she can bring. And then, I mean, if she has to retire
Well,
or at least maybe try to help push some others, maybe
Yeah.
she can do that as well.
Seems like that's what she's doing. She helped
Yeah.
Jamie Hayter get back on her feet
Yeah.
because she's been gone for so long. So
I think another reason she might be, taking her exit would be to spend time with her fiance.
sure.
Ooh,
Because
if it ain't me,
she can go on tour with him around the country or whatever. Because she is going out with
Who is she?
the lead singer, Fall in Reverse. So
Is she with Ronnie Radke now?
yeah, she's been with Ronnie
She
for a long time.
really likes douchebags.
Yeah, she's been with Ronnie for a long time though. So
she has a type.
Yeah.
we've never worked out.
All right. So last bit of news I got is an ex WWE star, Cassie Lee, who was FKA Peyton Royce, part of Iconic, I believe, is wanting to return to the ring after her extended hiatus.
Iconics.
Yeah, Iconic. I was like,
I mean, didn't
Yes,
she take a
go ahead.
majority of didn't she take a majority of her time off because she was pregnant? I mean, pregnant and then having a baby and then being with the baby. I mean, that's a
yeah,
very
so.
very valid reason to take some time off from the ring. I don't see any reason why she couldn't come back. The Iconics were great.
Mhm.
The Irish girls, for some reason it's slipping my mind right now. Unholy Alliance kind of reminds me of the Iconics, just in a different way. You know what I mean? But their attitudes are very similar. Yeah, I mean, whether she comes back with Billy Kay or comes back on her own, I'm for it. I mean, she was good. She can talk. And like I said, she left to have a baby. Like, That's not, it's not like she was hurt. It's not like she was done with wrestling. She had a freaking kid. So yeah, let her come back.
Sean,
I think
Sean
someone should
Spears,
scoop her
right?
up. Is that her husband? I'm not sure, but
I
yeah.
think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have to
wow.
look into that.
Yeah, Brent, what's your opinion on this coming back?
Yeah, I kind of can't help but be a little bit excited that she's wanting to return, because, like I said, if she comes back with Billy Kay, we may see her and Billy Kay bring back the Iconics in the
The
WWE,
reunion.
and that would be kind of awesome, because those girls can absolutely flat out go. They are over, even when they're heels. People hate them and love them at the same time. So why not bring them back and have a little bit of a nostalgia moment and then give maybe the tag team division a little bit of a push. Because I mean, they were good. There's nothing wrong with having a match between them and the Unholy Alliance or Unholy Union, or them and
whatever they're called.
Cargill and Belair. That would be some good matches that I would like to see. So yeah, bring it on back.
Okay, Pablo.
Don't run it back. No.
No?
No.
I liked Iconics because of their song and their entrance, but when they were in the ring, they were stiff and they were not fun to watch. I watched NXT from top to bottom, and they were one of the most forgettable outside of obviously having that pretty girl, mean girl gimmick.
Yeah.
I've been watching too much TNA knockouts to care about anybody that's a subpar wrestler that's pretty enough. I would just rather really good wrestlers at this point. I feel like that's behind us. The whole, like we get enough gimmicks with Piper and Chelsea Green, but at least Chelsea Green can do a Hurricane Rana and wrestle a man and beat the crap out of people when she wants to, but she's still silly. But no, Cassie Lee wasn't believable in the ring, and to be honest, she can be a nice person, but there's no place for nice. Not for me right now. I want the best wrestlers. She's not one of them. Bless you, though.
I hear that. I mean, okay, so from where I have watched wrestling since I've gotten together with Brent here, I'm kind of new to it all, but I have kind of seen, and we're going to be touching on to this topic here soon, but the shifts and the dynamics that have happened throughout women's, and it would, if you wanted to wrestle a little bit more, you got to come up with something better if you're going to come back. You can't return to what you used to be. I mean, that has that place back then, and it should stay there, and because it just needs to stay there. But if you wanted to come back, try to think of something different, and maybe put a little bit more effort into the ring,
right?
Because that is the shift of what's going with women's wrestling.
So now
tell that to the Dudley Boys and the Hardys.
So I'm gonna have to go back and watch some Iconic matches and ignore the fact that they're attractive and have sexy accents and see if I actually like the wrestling. Because
I respect good wrestling.
Good. So yeah,
not in a division that has Bianca Belair, has Bayley, has Io Sky, has Kairi Sane,
Asuka.
Asuka. There's so many good wrestlers. I don't have time for the ones that are just mean and sound funny.
Okay. Yeah.
I get it.
I get it too.
Hey, what's Raquel Rodriguez doing these days?
She's supposed to be coming back.
She needs to get a tag team partner.
Yes,
because somebody has to wrestle Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair on a freaking even scale.
Her and Nia. Yes. Her and Nia. Good team.
Can I tell you why that can't be?
Why?
Can I tell you why that can't be?
Why?
I can't, because you can't do another Kofi with another person. There can't be one person that's been 3-time tag champions with 3 different people. It just makes either them look bad or it makes like, oh, you could just put anybody with them? Well, you don't have a gimmick for yourself. You got to just be with
Right.
everybody.
Well, I was just, dude, I don't think outside of another triple threat match type thing, like I don't, Belair and Cargill are like the Road Warriors now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I don't see
Yeah.
them getting beat unless you get another physically imposing team.
Yeah.
Hey, well, we
you
are
know-
going to have, Delta Brady coming up through.
Yeah, hey.
and
Jordan Grace,
Stephanie.
maybe.
Yeah.
So they could get Stephanie and Delta together. That would be woo.
Right. I always liked Raquel Rodriguez. I'd like to see them do something good with her when she comes back. She's super athletic for such a
Yes.
big girl.
She-
Sometimes the stuff that she does in the ring makes you forget how huge she is until she does some power stuff on top of it. Like I just
That-
like her.
That
Yeah.
girl carries
She has
around
smiley
Braun
face
Strowman.
syndrome.
Yeah,
I
well,
was
yeah.
very
Yeah, that's
impressed
fine.
with her.
But no, she has smiley face syndrome.
Yeah, she's very happy to be there.
Where that's the thing though. She can't be taken seriously as a heel.
No, I know what you
And
mean.
she's
Yeah, I know what
happy.
you mean. Yeah, I know what you
But
mean.
I do like her too. I think she's good. I think she's fun, especially in those like hookups where it's her against Nia and like they're both just imposing and they just go like one after the other and and stuff like that. It's cool. I just would rather her do something on her own or
Yeah.
have a manager maybe.
Braun
Right on.
Strowman.
Yeah,
But
let them be the Terror Twins like Damien and Rhea. Damien and Rhea. What are they
Hey.
even?
Winning the tag team
Okay.
titles at some point.
But yeah,
No,
do a
please no.
gender match.
Right.
Please no.
Oh, they're gonna, dude. They're gonna. I think them winning the
No,
tag
thank you.
titles is gonna introduce intergender wrestling to the WWE on a full-time basis.
We're going to touch on to that.
Yes. In fact,
As long as it's not just one person beating up every single male security guard and making men look like absolute goobers. You know how
They
many
get bigger
and you
security
know how
guards,
many
dude.
WWE
Wrestling show.
champions. Think about how many WWE champions were security guards getting slammed by Nia Jax.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm just watching Tommaso Ciampa just ruling NXT when he was a beardless goober over here getting tossed around by somebody my size. Like,
Yeah.
leave me alone. Like, just
Alright,
go
so-
back to Stephanie smacking everybody and being like, now what? That's all that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
She had power.
she did.
Didn't
All
really
right,
have much
so-
of a choice but to take the smack.
That that's all I had for wrestling news for you all. So do you all want to get into the women's wrestling portion of this special episode?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, let's.
Can I
Alright.
just I'm only going to say one sentence. I'm only going
Go
to say
ahead.
one sentence and this is going to I want this to be the topic next week if I could do it next week.
Yeah.
I just saw a post about there hasn't been a single black star
Saw that too. And
on
who's
a
won a
PLE
pay-per-view
in,
match.
in the last three. No, not even that. There hasn't been one on a PLE in the last three, but one hasn't won since Bobby Lashley beat Austin Theory
Austin too. Yeah.
months ago.
Yeah.
And I'll have to address that.
Okay.
So
An MVP.
That's-
Are we just talking male wrestlers? Because I can debunk that if it's a female.
oh,
It's male because
Okay.
Male
yeah, because
is-
Bianca has probably won some matches.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Her and
it's
Shoot,
Carmella
Bianca
won
just
like
won.
matches.
just won a match. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they're just talking about male black wrestlers, I guess, which is kind of interesting, I guess. So if we're going to talk about women
Considering-
wrestling that went down this week, I just want to say one thing. Ren Sinclair took her shot.
I like.
She's one of the most entertaining things on television right now, dude. I love Ren Sinclair. She's
Yeah, I'm glad they made her a heel. That's
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
key to her completely.
yeah, 100%, dude. She did not look right. You should have. Did you guys follow her on Instagram or anything? Because she was posting like very sarcastic stuff when she was being a babyface. It's just not what she does. So
Yeah.
it's pretty funny.
She was posturing. She was just kind of playing it up.
Yeah. I mean, dude, her character is so she's just so much better when she's gets to talk a lot and be obnoxious. It's just better.
Yeah.
It's just what she does. She does that so well. And when she was a
She-
babyface, she didn't really have as much of a personality. She's out there smiling and like, yay! And it's just silly, you know. But
Yeah, no, she has a very sarcastic looking face and like a
she
face that
does.
she makes
Yeah,
and very uppity.
Yeah. Yeah,
I would say.
she rules, man. I wanted to do with Belle so bad, but
And that's something that they can definitely work with and definitely, do a lot with.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
that way.
With the no
Charles-
quarter catch.
yeah. Charlie,
just talking about her,
Charlie
yeah.
Dempsey. That was great, man. He told me to take my shot, so bam, that's so good.
Bam.
And then the match was dope because she could wrestle her ass off.
Yeah.
So the match was so good. Like, I just can't wait for her to do more. She's my favorite thing on TV right now. So
Main character Maddie.
absolutely. No further questions.
No further questions? Okay.
No, that was her thing on the indies. No further questions.
So
Bring
women's
it back.
role in wrestling has come a long way from where it used to be in the beginning. Because women were often the eye candy on wrestler's arm or made to do silly performances in between card matches. They do like in old school
Say attitude era.
attitude era, or even before all that, you'd have brown panty matches or pillow fights or even bikini competitions. I mean, those kind of things kind of just showed women as a, like, of course, eye candy and the side piece. They were made to be pretty. They were made to look a certain way and everything. They didn't have a prominent role in wrestling as of yet. It was just more of a way to draw more attention to, just something for the men to see in between matches and whatnot. But over the past
Major
couple of
blast.
decades, female wrestling has undergone a major change from what we all have seen. Nowadays, the females bring a unique diversity to it all. They all have their own charisma. They have their own style. They have a way to push the limits. And I think we have seen that in certain ones. And I know we all have our favorites. We'll touch base on that. Which ones are our favorite. But the women that have pushed this and have kind of started the ball rolling, I'm just going to touch a few, like Mae Young, Mildred Burke, the Fabulous Moolah, kind of defied those societal terms in it. And I think the ladies had then took that and they built upon that as time went on. But I don't think they got the respect that they were deserving of until about the 1990s, around the mid-late 1990s, when kind of during the Attitude Era, because a lot more of the talent was starting to come in. You would have women that would try, and would wrestle some of the men. I mean, you had Chyna. Look at Chyna. Look what she did in the ring. And of course, you had Lita and Trish Stratus during that time. It was a time of, even for the Attitude Era, where it was more adult oriented as well.
Right.
So, I mean, they had a bit of a flux right there of more profanity and everything. It did give it an edgier push. Oh, but you still had the divas. You still had the ones that had the pretty face. You still had the one that had the pretty bodies, like Stacy Keibler, Sable, and Sunny. They had that Diva division in WWE. And in TNA, they had the Knockouts champions in division. But theirs was more for wrestling. You had more of the wrestling aspect than the what do you call it? The fluff, the floof, the
Fluff.
fluff of the looks and everything. Um, and that's where you got to see Gail Kim, Madison Rain, Awesome Kong, Angelina Love. You know, all of them kind of
Trinity.
flourish. Huh?
Trinity was my favorite knockout. So
Yeah,
Trinity
Trinity,
was
yeah.
another one. Yes.
Trinity was
Naomi.
dope.
And you had high flyers like Mickey James was in part of that. You had Beth Phoenix during this time with her. I'm sorry, but that woman's impressive. The
Yeah.
way that she is and everything. She was the, what did she call herself? The Amazon.
The Glamazon.
Glamazon.
Amazon, yeah.
Loved her. But you had these talents and were able to push it, and they became more into having their own match cards in their own time. But it didn't get fully big until WrestleMania 35, where you had a main event of women's wrestling with Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Ronda Rousey.
Right.
I mean, that one was big for women wrestling and iconic. And I love it that Becky won. She was my favorite of the time. And she's still my favorite, even though she's retired. I will always love Becky Lynch. The man. Sorry, I have to put that out there, but I love her. But it has progressed and it has become more of an equalizer for everyone all around. I mean, you can now. It was all about men's wrestling with the women being just, entertainment in between the match cards to being one-on-one, and they can hold their own now.
Right.
In everything. Yeah. So it was no longer foreshadowed, and it's now right there with the men in wrestling. And since the women's wrestling is growing in popularity and, garnering higher match cards as it continues, I do have questions for you all. And what do you all see in women's wrestling now and in its future? Pablo, what do you think?
About the state of women's wrestling right now?
Yes. State of women's wrestling and where it's going to be going.
Okay, I think the state of women's wrestling right now is that it, for me at least, has been a steady rise, and it peaked a few years ago when we did have Naomi and Jordynne Grace going at it and having, there was, after a while, we started having the women pay-per-view, like main eventing pay-per-views, and I like that because those matches were the bigger matches. They belong on the top. And yeah, I don't believe that there should be quote unquote bathroom break matches.
Yeah.
But if we're being honest, there still are. And there still are the aspect of the divas. And if I'm being honest, NXT seems more like D-Generation X's version of the Attitude Era coming back, because all I know about the NXT girls, aside from the wrestling, is what I see on Instagram, and they're selling. It's nothing wrestling.
Okay.
The most I knew about Valerie Lozada was her shaking her butt. And then Lola Vice started to show more, but it's still a lot of that. Nikita Lyons hasn't wrestled in how long? She just had a live event. She's one of the most popular wrestlers right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because she looks like she was chiseled by Jesus.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, is that I think the top of the top is the best it's ever been. And is it going to get better? Who knows? Because it's like the main event scene in all of these companies right now
Mhm.
for the women are a lot stronger than a lot of the men's, considering that Tony Storm was doing her best work. Mariah May right now is picked up and is running with it, you know. Stardom is starting to get more love, but also because they're pumping out really good wrestlers, you know. I think I've always talked about TNA's ability to have the best women's division for years, and I think they still have a very strong women division. I don't think it's the best because I think WWE, as far as talent wise, including NXT, they have the best 10 women on their roster that aren't named Mercedes and aren't named Jordan Grace. And Jordan Grace is making show times on NXT, and she just wrestled with Sol Ruka on TNA, and that's another rub with Sol Ruka where she got to show that she's really good as long as she didn't botch another one of those tightrope DDTs.
Okay.
I think the top of the top, I think women's wrestling is pinnacle right now. It's very good, and I hope they trend more in that direction and less on the pageantry and
Mhm.
the whole like Kelly, Stacy Keibler, Tori Wilson, Sable type stuff. I hope that they go more with the Jordan Grace, Bianca Belair, where they actually want to show people that are good wrestlers and not just pretty and have a big butt that they can put on Instagram for likes.
Okay. Keith.
Okay, so I want to back things up just a little bit to kind of talk about some of the stuff that you talked about in your intro, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Do you guys remember what the first big nationally televised wrestling event was? Like as far as cable television, like it was the Brawl for All on MTV.
Yeah, Brawl for All. Yeah.
And do you remember what the main event of the Brawl for All was? Wendy Richter and Leilani Kai.
Oh, my goodness.
And in the 80s, you also had POW and you also had the LPWA. And you had women like Misty Blue and Medusa Michelli and Magnificent Mimi and Wendy Richter, who were attractive women, but who could also wrestle really, really well. You had the Jumping Bomb Angels. I think that what happened was in the 90s, when they started bringing in models who couldn't wrestle, you know, and then throwing them in and just having terrible matches with them, just horrible matches. That's when women wrestling got off track. I am glad that women's wrestling is back on track because growing up, Magnificent Mimi, Medusa Michelli were two of my favorite wrestlers, man. Not my favorite women's wrestlers, just my favorite wrestlers. And I used to get so excited when the Jumping Bomb Angels would come on. So I am super excited that women's wrestling is back in a position where it needs to be. Like women headlined the very first national cable big time wrestling show. It was women, you know, and Wendy Richter was a huge draw going into WrestleMania. So like, I'm glad that it's back where it should be. And as far as the state of it right now, I mean, the matches are great. You know, 9 out of 10 times, it seems like the women have the best match on the card, you know, depending on who else is there. But Rhea Ripley brings it all every pay-per-view she's on. It's so hard to top any match that Rhea Ripley's in. She's just so good with all of it. And I think that, you know, with all the younger girls coming up, I mean, look at Julie Hart, Zaya Brookside. Zaya Brookside she's been wrestling her whole life, but she's like in her early 20s, you know? And then the girls down in NXT, like Roxanne Perez. I mean, she's a baby, you know what I mean? She's got decades to go, and they're so good right now. You know, I can't imagine how much better they're going to be. And I think that as long as things keep going the way that they're going, where you've got these young girls who are coming up and they've got veterans to work with who are good, and Charlotte Flair's about to come back again. Say what you will about Charlotte Flair and how she's presented, she's one of the best wrestlers to ever step foot in a wrestling ring.
Best in
I
the world.
have to agree on that one.
It's just
Not-
true. You know what I mean?
Mercedes Moné.
It's true. You know what I mean? Like, she's just so good.
Yeah.
I don't see women's wrestling slowing down. I think the only thing that could slow it down is if they do another silly thing where they derail it like they did in the 90s. Women's wrestling in the 90s became less than. And that's unfortunate, but I'm glad that it's back to where it should be,
Okay. Brent?
Well, I think that it's been elevated, but I don't think it's reached the pinnacle of where it can be. I think women's wrestling still has a little ways to go before it gets there. They have done tremendous breakthroughs. They've main evented, but I'm talking about all around. You still have your eye candy girls who just do their little skits and that's it. They've very little wrestling skill. But I think as the time progresses and, these phenomenal women who are wrestling now start training more women to wrestle their style, I think that women's wrestling is going to catapult, and it's going to be huge. A lot better overall as we look through each company. And you guys know, there are a lot of good women wrestlers out there. I mean, we're talking Megan Bain, Katie Arquette, we're talking Ren Sinclair, Erica Ademia, Heather Reckless. I mean, there's just so many who can actually, Delta Brady, who are going to do phenomenal things wherever they end up. And I think women's wrestling's in a real good spot right now.
Yeah. Erica is so young, man. To be as good as she is and as fully developed as a character, I mean, that girl just turned 19, I think. She is going to be a huge star when someone picks her up. The kids already love her. You know what I mean? She's got such a presence online. I'm a big Erica Ademia supporter. And I can't wait to see what she's going to do in the future. Like, she's going to be something special.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, y'all have said something a little bit similar to answering this question, but which show has the best women's wrestling out there right now? I think Pablo, you had mentioned it was TNA for you.
As far as the best currently, or?
Yes, currently.
No, I'd say it was WWE. I said
okay.
WWE if you add TNA with it. I think they have the best top 10
or NXT.
there.
You think
Between
NXT?
those two. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Keith, you said NXT?
Oh, man, I have no idea. I'm going to be completely honest. Like, there's so much talent spread out all over everywhere, I mean, the NWA does such a great job with their women talent. I mean, the Page sisters, come on, man. I mean, those girls are so good.
Natalia Markova.
Yeah, and the Pretty Deadly girls. And that's not their names, but I think you guys
Pretty empowered.
Pretty empowered girls.
Pretty
Right. Yeah, Missa Kate, and
They're
and
cool.
whoever
I
she,
like them.
and Big Mama. I mean, dude, I love Big Mama. I can't personally. I know her. She's such a sweet lady, and she's so freaking talented. I'm so glad that she's getting a chance to show what she can do. But yeah, even the NWA, which I guess you would consider like the lowest tier of national companies, has an amazing women's roster. And like Pablo was saying, WWE's just loaded. Like so much talent there. And AEW, doesn't AEW have Perosa now?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Peraza?
I mean, yeah. If you have
I
Deonna
believe
Purrazzo,
so.
I mean, dude.
Yeah, I think she's on the roster. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
They should do more with her because
Yes.
she's amazing. You know, and then and
Yeah.
TNA has Jordan Grace and even Dana Brooks is so good now. You know, I mean, she really is. Like they taught Dana Brooks how to be good at what she does.
Yeah.
Mariah May is good. Sky Blue, I mean, she's hurt right now, but so talented.
Mhm.
It's just there's so much I can't pick. Like I legitimately cannot pick who has the best because they're all so good.
It's a good
Maybe
problem to have.
WWE
Very good.
just because they have Rhea Ripley, and Rhea
Hey.
Ripley might be the best wrestler in the world,
Yeah.
Brent, is that
male,
what you're
female,
listening-
anything. You know what I mean? So
My thought is it's going to be between it's going to be WWE or TNA as far as yeah, you can look at the AEW roster for the women and it's pretty stacked if you go through it and look. But do they do anything? That's with them.
Right.
That's the thing.
No.
They had Hikaru Shida. She's phenomenal, dude. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. And what they let Mercedes Moné get, how they let her destroy her was just crazy. But yeah, I would say it's definitely a toss up between WWE and TNA for having probably some of the best women's wrestler on. If we're main eventing, spotlighting, whatever we want to call it, those two companies probably are head and shoulders above the rest. And then I would say probably NWA is a close third because the way they utilize their talent, they don't just wrestle women. They'll get in there and smack a man. They'll bitch smack a man just as fast as they will a woman. So that's what I like. I like to see these girls go out there and beat the hell out of these men. Tessa Blanchard's another one. She used to rock people.
I was gonna say when I was talking about that peak, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of it had to do with the Tessa Blanchard, Sami Callihan, where they went in and they forced the issue. They were like, no, not only is this a thing, not only is women wrestling, like, are we actually going to make women's wrestling? We're going to put it in the forefront and we're going to have her main event and win the championship from the TNA World Champion. She's not winning a digital title. She's not winning a mid-card title. She's going to be the face. Obviously, you picked a bad face because
all
the
things
face
considered.
of your company, all things considered, is going to have a tough time trying to get back to any sort of relevancy after what she's been accused of. But
Yeah.
I would say back then and then, I do feel like, not that I can't see it getting any better, but we just, like right now, I can't imagine like how many more we could have as far as like TNA is swimming with talent. Like Heather Reckless just beat Xia Brookside. By the way,
Nice. I bet that match was amazing.
Oh, yeah, I'd
it
say it
was.
was.
Oh, I gotta watch
So-
that. I bet it's so good.
Yeah.
But there's so much going on in all of these companies. But I think instead of taking one and being like they're the ones doing it best, I think as a collective, the wrestling community, like the entire like global aspect of women's wrestling is actually just strong and just
Yeah.
very, very good. And it's in good hands. And
Okay.
Brett,
So-
thinking about can I just say something
ahead.
about what Brett said? Thinking about what you said about AEW and then throwing it back to NWA a little bit, Camille.
Yeah.
NWA developed her and turned her into one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Yep.
Like she was
Monster.
probably, until she got signed, she was probably the best women's wrestler on the indies. Like until she got the contract. And now AEW has her not even wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have her as a bodyguard. I mean, she's a veteran at this point. Like, why aren't they utilizing her?
Right.
And I like the dynamic with her and Mercedes, but why not let her be her big buddy who wrestles? Why is she
Right.
just her bodyguard?
I don't
That's
like it.
ridiculous to me. Yeah, it's ridiculous to me.
And they'll probably hold her in that same position as a bodyguard for the next year.
Right.
Whenever she could
Till
be
she
out there
turns.
having 5-star matches with, let's say, Chris Statlander, Jamie Hayter, Julia,
Right.
Mercedes. I hate to even put her name out there. I don't even like the lady, but
Mercedes is good, man.
Okay, so I gotta
That's
ask
our next
everyone-
argument.
I've got to
I don't
ask
think she's
everyone who and in the wrestling community, who is your favorite female wrestler and why? Brent.
Can I go first?
Mm.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Go for it, man.
I have it all at the top. I always talk about her, but I've been following Jordan Grace for as long as she's been wrestling, and I find it to be her, and I'm happy that she was the one to break the door open between TNA and NXT. And because I feel like, you know, granted, she may have said some bad, dumb things that the IWC won't let go of, some people, but I think she's the perfect person to do it. And I feel like she's my favorite of selfish reasons because I'm me, Gigi Dolan also, but I haven't seen
I
her
knew it.
wrestle in a while.
Hey now.
But yeah, it's Jordan. It's 100% Jordan Grace, and I wish her the best, and I want to see her wrestle more technically savvy male wrestlers one day.
There you go.
Because her against her husband Jonathan Gresham was a great match.
Okay, Brent.
Oh, geez. Currently, there's a lot of good women wrestlers out there, but my favorite, and I talk about her all the time, guys, is Megan Bain. The chick is just phenomenal.
That's surprising to me.
You know, don't get me wrong, I love Alexa.
That's the
Don't
woman
get
I
me
thought you were
wrong.
going to say.
I do love Alexa, but right now, I've watched a lot of Megan Bain stuff coming through. That woman can flat out go. I don't know why she's not in a major company. Maybe it's just contract stuff. I don't know, but this girl can flat out wrestle. I wouldn't even call her girl. This woman can flat out wrestle. She will beat the hell out of men, women. It don't matter. She can go, and WWE needs to either send her to NXT or the main roster pronto.
All right, Keith, who's your favorite and why?
All right, so this is tough, man.
It is.
I don't know if I can pick one. Like, my favorite in-ring performer is Rhea Ripley. I love watching Rhea Ripley wrestle. I think she, like I've said a few times, like, I think Rhea Ripley might be the best wrestler in the world. I think there's a good argument for it. You know what I mean? As far as in-ring, who's better than her, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I also love Red Sinclair because I've been watching her for years on the indies. I love her expressions. I love her character. I love her energy. And she's awesome in the ring, you know? So, and then Big Mama, who has been working for almost 20 years and is just now finally getting her shot and really doesn't do anything wrong. Like, she's one of the best. She's another one who's just one of the best wrestlers in the ring. So, I mean, it's hard for me to pick between those three as far as a favorite. So if I could just have a tie, I mean, I don't know. Like, I can't, you know. I can't. Rhea, I guess. You know, Rhea, I guess. But I mean, it's tough. You know,
I hear you.
I love all three of those ladies. Like,
real quick.
Yes.
All of our three favorites, if you put them in a match, how fast does Jordan Grace win?
Dude, you know what's funny? All three of our favorites are like women who kind of wrestle like men. Yeah, big powerhouses who kind of wrestle like men. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or those men just wrestling like women.
I tell you what.
I know.
I tell you what. Rhea Ripley versus Megan Bain versus Jordan Grace. I would pay big dollars.
That's money, dude.
Match.
Yeah, that's money.
That would be money.
I do see at some point Rhea Ripley against Jordan Grace headlining a PLE, and I'd hope so because I've always known the trajectory. Aside from her just being a cute little baby face her whole entire career, and then just becoming this muscle bound wrestling machine, right?
Yeah.
She needs better. If I'm being honest, I talk a lot about TNA's knockouts, but as far as main people, there's Jordan Grace, and then there's not even a close second. Right. There's it's like Yankees and championships. It's like 27, and then like 10. That's really what it is. So like,
Celtics.
shameless plug.
Celtics, yeah,
But-
Celtics.
Yeah.
Exactly. Same way where but the Celtics at least have the Lakers where they're going back and forth, right? But
Right.
no, Jordan Grace is head over heels better than every wrestler, and every wrestler that goes against her that is in TNA
Mhm.
or in NXT at that matter, it doesn't even seem viable that they can win.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Now,
There's only one way to go. There's only one way to go. It's up. It's
Yeah.
WWE. It's up.
now, speaking of these powerhouse women, and some of them have, been with, like Rhea Ripley with Damian Priest and whatnot, these intergender, couplings that we have seen in some matches throughout, wrestling and whatnot. Do you think that will become more prominent or see a lot more of as wrestling goes? Keith?
So it took me a while to come around to intergender wrestling, to be honest. I always felt like if a woman gets punched in the face by a man, she probably should just go down. I mean, it took me a long time to kind of be like, some of these, but they have good matches, and I think as long as you can make it believable, then I'm cool with intergender wrestling. But I do think it's going to become more prominent. I think with Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest essentially becoming a tag team,
Yeah.
I think that they're eventually going to go for the tag team titles.
That'd be awesome.
I think they're probably going to win them. I think that like we talked about with Delta coming in, and Delta has spent the majority of her career wrestling men and has won a lot of men's titles. I think they're probably going to capitalize on that. So, yeah, I think that once it breaks through to WWE, then that's it.
Yeah.
Because everybody else already does intergender wrestling. WWE is kind of the last holdout. Like they dabbled in it a little bit with China, but even like the PWI 500 came out and there was women on it. So
There should be.
There should be. Yeah.
But I mean, for a long time, I mean, they still do the two separate lists, but for a long time, it was two separate lists and never the twain shall meet. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's obviously becoming very prominent, and it's just the WWE is the last holdout, and I think that in the next year or so, you'll see Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest kind of opening the door for that.
Okay. Pablo,
So
do you think we're going to be seeing more of it? Matches?
Are we talking about in just WWE, like if they go into Netflix, or is it just
No.
overall?
Intergender matches, like he was saying, WWE is the last holdout for it because the rest of them have been touching base on it. And I was thinking, I asked if it was that intergender matches would be more prominent in wrestling if we're going to see a lot more of it as it continues as wrestling.
So
goes.
whether or not do I think it should or do I think it will? Because if I think
Either.
it will, if I think it will, I do believe it will. Thing is though, do I think it should tactically? I don't know how much I want to normalize men and women fighting, which I think is what they were always going after. And at first I was like, wait, that's kind of weird to me. But then after a while, I've been a boxing trainer for a long time, and like I just know that I could not do and fight with certain people the way I did with others.
Mhm.
And if I'm being honest, there is a bigger risk with a bigger guy doing a move on somebody that is structurally smaller than them. But I think that part is null and void because a safe worker can do a safe move on whoever and it can still work. We've already had these cases where there's been, Tessa Blanchard against Sami Callihan and it'd be extremely brutal, and I feel like there is a place for it because it's a sport, right? It's a sport where it's actually determined results, okay? Spoiler alert. So I think as a dance, I used to be a competitive dancer and all that. Men and women dance together. So you can do a dance together. The thing that goes down with it is that it's the punching aspect. It's the slapping. Like I was always against the fact that every single time a woman needed to look strong, it was some pissant man that they just had to wreck. They're like, "Oh, like you're nothing." And then, oh, I guess we just have to take the fact that she can just beat up a regular guy and it'd be fine. Stephanie can go out, Maurice can go out and smack every single person with literally no sort of repercussion or no even scoff. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, he's a man, he deserved it." Like I don't fight in that way. I don't like the fact that there's just one-sided violence. But I also see why a certain company wouldn't want that to be on the forefront. The first thing they see is, oh,
Mhm.
boys and girls in school are wrestling. Obviously, it says don't try it at home, but we have. Boys and girls are fighting at home at like a higher rate now, and like domestic DV is up now, and then they're gonna somehow say it's because there's influence in media. But when you have Captain Marvel literally murdering thousands of people and making men look absolutely dopey, and She-Hulk and things like that, like it's a dance. Why not? Right?
Yeah.
I don't feel like the physical aspect, the punching and kicking, that part, just have it, like I said, Jordan Grace technical wrestling with Jonathan Gresham. I think that's cool. Have a technical wrestling match. I don't want to see a man punch a woman in the face, and I don't want to see a woman punch a man in the face because I don't want either to be glorified
Yeah,
as they
just let
have
it be
been.
just let it be like just a wrestling match. No punching. Just
I would like that, yes. I would like just a wrestling match because on the wrestling front, there's been women that have won, the men's wrestling in collegiate and high school and stuff like that. That's wrestling. I don't think that we should just have some pugilism and like just show off that, oh, we can do it. Like I don't want that. I don't want that to be a normalized thing. And I see why they've done it for so long where they've kept them separate, but I think that they should have them wrestle together.
Okay, Brent.
I agree with that. I do I do like that a lot because there is a difference between punching somebody in the face and taking a forearm to the face. A little bit different,
Mhm.
right? So yeah, but a chop here or there, that's not going to hurt nobody. Especially if you can Ric Flair chop somebody and sell it pretty good. But yeah, I see it coming more prominent, especially since Rhea and Priest already have a tag team finishing move, and everywhere else, women's wrestling and men wrestling combined, on the independent scene, I see it a lot. I'm sure you guys have too. Uh, So yeah, I think that it's in a good spot to where they can actually do this. I know WWE is not one to promote any kind of like say domestic violence, for men and women, but at the same time, it is entertainment and it's a show.
Mhm.
So why not let them go at it?
Can I really
So
quick? I was gonna say because we see the offense, we see, Nia Jax throwing around Pretty Deadly or throwing, Rhea Ripley throwing around Dominic Mysterio. Who would you have the first offense?
Oh, I
What
definitely think.
man would you have as the first person to put some sort of offense against a woman in a match in WWE? Like, how would you even make that work? Like, how
Chad
would you
Gable.
introduce that?
Chad Gable
Because it
wrestles Nikki
doesn't,
Cross.
because it wouldn't be,
Yeah,
that's the thing. It
yeah,
wouldn't be Rhea because they make Rhea look like a monster and
yeah.
she'll
She's a
never,
monster.
a man will never do offense on her. They'll never do an offensive maneuver on her. She will always just fold them up and make them look like a scrub.
Yeah,
But who, like, because they did the Reggie one, right? Wasn't Reggie, didn't he fight a woman?
yeah,
But it wasn't any offense. He just flipped a few times and then like what was it, like one or two Irish whips?
yeah. Something like that.
But there's always been intergender wrestling. Remember,
Right.
WWE has probably done it more than anybody, but again, it's always been one-sided.
Mhm.
Right.
So that's the thing about it. They're not the last one at the ball. They were always the first, but it was always a one-sided to where, okay, the women are going to beat up the men are going to,
Right, because it
know,
was always
Thank
silly
you.
things like Harvey Wimpleman wanting, or Downtown Bruno wanting to be the women's champion, and silly
Andy
things like that.
Kaufman.
Yeah. Well, Andy Kaufman used to
Yeah,
whoop
like,
those girls, though.
Yeah.
You know, he used to-
but remember, it was because he was silly looking and he was like
Yeah.
ridiculous, and people didn't
Yeah.
believe him. Also, these women were
Right.
like, a lot of the times they were bigger than him, and like,
yeah, and he was shoot fighting them. So, you know, but
wild.
But yeah, as to answer your question, I think Chad Gable could believably wrestle Nikki Cross with his character and get some
With
offense
offense?
on her. Yeah, with offense, because he's a wrestler. I think he could get a leg pick on her, you know what I mean, and work her down in the mat and kind of be all, ha ha ha. I mean, I think she would obviously win. I think she would come back, and he'd be scared, and and that would be the
Yeah.
match. Like, start out with some heat where he's kind of out wrestling her and humiliating her, and you're just a woman, and then she monsters up and he's a heel and he's still afraid, and he either runs off or he loses.
Yeah. I can see
But
That's-
that.
then what does
Actually
that
could see
do?
that.
But then what does that do for it anyway? That almost defeats the purpose of doing intergender anyway. If you're just going to have him coward and be like, "Oh, I'm going to make you look bad, but then I'm going to make myself look bad."
Well, with her being the baby
I'm not
face,
going to.
I was just kind of booking a typical heel babyface match with a cowardly heel, and in this case, the babyface just happens to be a woman. You know what I mean? Like,
But it
So
wouldn't
that's-
necessarily be
yeah.
a wrestling match, would it? Like, is
Mhm.
it like a full-on match with a climax with like a kip up and like she's gonna get
I mean,
some?
could
She's gonna
be,
do
like,
a
you could
comeback
stretch it out.
sequence.
you could, yeah. I mean, why not? And then after she hits her moves, then he cowers. And he doesn't have to cower and leave. You know what I mean? He could pull a Ric Flair back into the corner, hit her with a shoulder block, and get a little more heat. You know what I mean?
just
Like,
a no.
yeah,
What I
yeah, it doesn't-
what I
yeah.
pitched though, right? What I
Yeah.
pitched is that I wanted there to be submission matches.
sure.
I feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
WWE got away from submission matches after,
Right.
The late Chris Benoit and
Yeah, Angle and
Kurt
Benoit.
Angle.
Yeah.
Angle was the last one, and me, like, my gimmick was that I would do the four horsemen, the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, like Ole and,
Work a
Arn,
hold.
where they
Work an arm.
you work a hold, work an arm. Exactly. I would
Yeah,
cut you.
yeah.
I would cut you in quarters. Like, I'd work a left arm here, I'd work a right
Right.
arm here, and like you could do that.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
something that
Yeah.
I want,
Yeah.
but I want there to actually be actual wrestling. But in that case,
Yeah.
when you were saying where he would just run away, it would just kind of defeat the purpose of
Well, no,
trying to
I'm
make
saying
the team
I'm saying that
on
would be
same
the
class.
yeah. I was just saying that would be the finish, and like he wouldn't necessarily
okay,
have to
yeah.
leave. There'd be a whole match. I was just hitting the high spots. You know what I mean? That's all. I was just
Yeah.
hitting the high spots. Like,
Yeah, okay. Like Charlotte, I see Charlotte she would be the first person to wrestle a man.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
for sure.
And I feel like she
Sure.
would do it for the title. She'd be like, okay, I'm 17-time champion now. I just beat my father's record. One thing I
Right.
want to do now is that I want to wrestle. And I want to
Yeah.
wrestle for the WWE Championship, the one that my
Yes.
father had.
and then
Yes,
Gunther
that
beats
was
the
awesome.
living hell out of her. You know
No,
what I mean?
I'm
Then Gunther chops her to
She's-
death.
she's going
I don't know
to
about that.
she's going to tap out Andrade for the championship.
Oh,
Hey now.
Hey now.
So
Ooh.
Okay.
I
so
like
thinking about some intergender stuff, right?
Ooh-wee.
My favorite hardcore match that ECW ever did is probably Beulah and Fonzie. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that match, but Beulah and Fonzie had like this insanely competitive, ridiculously bloody hardcore match. It was really, really good, and Beulah ended up winning. And that's probably my favorite hardcore match in ECW history, honestly. It's really, really good. And neither one of them were full-time wrestlers, but you could tell that they were trained, you know what I mean? And it was a good match.
Well, Did Tommy train one of them?
Oh, I'm sure Tommy worked
Oh,
with
I'm
Beulah.
sure.
You know what I mean? I'm sure he worked with Beulah.
Okay.
And Fonzie being a wrestler as long as he was, I don't know if he or a referee. I mean, I don't know if he ever wrestled, but there is no such thing. I guess in modern times they kind of do it, but there's really no such thing as referee training. Like back in the day, if you were going to referee, you got trained to wrestle,
Mhm.
and then you refereed if they needed a ref, and then you became a ref.
Actually,
So-
the academy actually does it, where you can train to be a referee. Actually,
Yeah, they didn't used to do that. There used to
no,
not
they
be.
didn't. That's for sure.
Yeah. Referee training is kind of a new thing, just like manager training. It used to be, no, if
Mhm.
you're going to be in the business, you're going to train just like everybody else. And then if
Yeah.
you don't want to do the wrestling, you can do something else.
Right.
So it's completely different now.
Yeah, it
But
changed.
yeah. And I remember
Apparently
like
it
the
needs
Mr. Perfect and Midnight match from Nitro where he just ate her up. He just kept putting her in abdominal stretches and was just beating the hell out of her. And then that kind of killed Midnight's push. I'm just thinking back to like
Mhm.
different intergender stuff,
Yeah.
Well,
Like-
some of the okay, so I'm big on for intergender stuff is the tag teams. We went to it was a house show for TNA when it was Impact, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And it was Eric Young and ODB against
Mhm.
who
It
were
was
they
Madison
against?
Rain and let's see. Was it the Amazing? It was what was his name? I forget.
Not Amazing
I,
Red.
f- I
No,
forget.
Yeah.
not Amazing Red.
that wouldn't make sense.
The big
I
one.
the big one.
Oh, Crimson?
Oh,
Crimson.
Pon?
Okay, yes.
Oh, that's a
Crimson.
big one.
It was a great match. I loved watching it, even though it was kind of a side card kind of thing. It was just not one of the main ones. I still enjoyed it. I still loved
Yeah.
watching it, and I'd like to see more of that.
Right,
Um,
right.
And watching all of that, because to me that is entertaining. You get both sides, and yet it needs to be like its own thing. Its
Yeah.
own tag team and everything.
Yeah, I get that. Like,
I like to see some of that.
so yeah, they do that a lot in the indies. They'll do a lot of mixed tags like that. Like, you got one of, well, I talk about them all the time. The production, of course.
Right.
But they're phenomenal. I mean,
There's a tag team out here called Shield Wall. Great people. They're Viking. They do a Viking gimmick. They're husband and wife.
oh, nice.
Nice.
And they're a great team. I actually booked them in a Fans Bring the Weapons match against two men. Shield Maiden Fairfax, she's the wife of it. She's just as tough as any dude. Like, I mean, they're really good. They're good people and they have great matches. I mean, and they wrestle in men's divisions. Like they just wrestle in tag team divisions. They don't really
The Shield Maiden.
Shield Maiden Fairfax.
I think that could be a good avenue for both men and women's wrestling, though, is to do that kind of tag teams. It would be an interesting way, or interesting, wrestling matches, and a good way to showcase both sides, both men and women, and their strong suits, because the men have the strength, and sometimes women have more agility, because we can be a little bit more limber than men, but men have the strength. So it'd be interesting to see.
If that was put that way,
Yeah.
it would be, yeah.
Right.
The thing is, though, it never really highlighted the men. It was only to emasculate them and then highlight the women.
Yeah, and
That's
I mean that
why I need there to be intergender. I need there to be intergender wrestling, because
Right.
otherwise
Yeah.
it's just going to get worse during this Netflix.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
and that was the whole thing about Kurt Hennig. Like they wanted him to go out there and like, because I don't know if you guys remember how they were pushing Midnight, but she was like the third member of Harlem Heat, and she was supposed to be like big bad woman, like a big muscular chick. And Kurt Hennig, they wanted him to go out there and like, because he could sell his ass off. They wanted him to go out there and sell for her and like, make her look like a beast. And he was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. He was like, you don't know who I am. And he went out there and humiliated her on national television, and it was live. There wasn't anything they could do about it. You know what I mean? He just went out there and ate her up and was like,
The But the certain wrestlers like Jacqueline when she was part of the cruiserweight and what she got the cruiserweight championship, I think.
Yeah,
I think they handled that well
right.
Yeah,
as opposed to, but it's just like it has to be the right people. That's
Yeah.
in my eyes.
That's key
That's
right
why I
there.
think of a Charlotte
Yeah.
Flair. That's why I think of a Charlotte Flair. I don't necessarily think of a Rhea Ripley because I don't think she'll ever be picked up and slammed by anybody. She doesn't want to
Right.
look weak.
Right.
Like
right,
she has
right.
that
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar thing where it was like, no, I'm not going to tap. Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not going to
Yeah.
be put in a power bomb situation with
Yeah.
my head up in the air. And I'm like,
Right.
no.
I mean, she's taken
I
some
don't feel like
She's taking hits.
some pretty interesting stuff from Liv, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
especially for Liv being as small as she is, and
well, they have to
Which-
make Liv look good. They have to make her look
Right.
strong because right now she looks like a imposter syndrome with that title next to Rhea Ripley.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
are all on the same side as far as hoping
for
that
sure.
there is some legitimacy and wanting there to be, some
Yeah, I want it to make
representation, but also
sense,
some
you know.
integration.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it has to
Yeah.
make sense and it has to be believable. That's
Right.
the thing.
Yeah, I don't want Roxanne Perez beating up Julius Creed.
Yeah, yeah.
Did
Although I think-
have you guys ever seen Khan and have you guys ever seen Khan and Jordan Grace when they worked
Yes,
with each other?
Actually. Yes, actually.
Yeah, I've
It
seen
was-
a little bit.
Pretty insane. I mean,
Hmm.
I think that was pretty
I
well
remember,
done. Like,
Mhm.
Khan kind of was like laughing it off, you know what I mean, until
Mhm.
got a little
Mhm.
more serious. But
It was interesting when I saw that. When I saw that match. I was on
Yeah.
a big Jordan Grace binge at the time. And I
Right.
saw that one and I was like, that was interesting, But
Yeah.
especially I'll say another guy who's very good with intergender matches because he's done it so many times. Orange Cassidy.
oh sure,
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
One, his gimmick is perfect for it,
Yeah.
but two, he actually is like he has a good style where he
Right.
mixes and matches. Him and Jordan Grace had a good match together,
nice.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a unique wrestler for me, Orange Cassidy.
Oh, he's very
Ruby
different.
Riot had some really good intergender matches on the Indies.
Mhm.
When she comes back, I don't know if she'll be doing any, but I mean, she had some really good intergender matches.
I think Jordan Grace will be the first one to
Yeah.
do the Tessa Blanchard as far as like one of the big companies to have a main event with a man again.
Right.
I think it'll be her. It has to be because they're just gonna possibly do something where there's nothing else that she can do. She has nobody else for her to beat. So she either goes
Right.
WWE, like I said, or she goes against Nick Nemeth. I think
Nice.
they'd have a monster of a match, those two. I think
Yeah.
they'd have one of the best matches of the year.
Yeah.
He can sell his butt off and she can lift him up.
Right. Right.
He'd take a muscle buster, he'd pop
Sure.
up in the air and like do a backflip.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all I got on women's wrestling, unless anybody else, has anything to add.
I mean, I think we did a lot of
I
it.
think we nailed it down pretty good today.
Yeah.
One thing I'll
for
say
sure.
is that I don't like the I don't like the tag division right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I don't
could
like
be
the
In the
tag
WWE?
actually, I actually don't like the tag division in TNA either.
Really?
Yeah,
Is it
I
because
feel
of
like
who they
they're
got
right now.
together, or are they kind of like dropping the ball and
Well,
not
one,
showcase-
I think they took in order to make the system look good and they took Militia and made it like a side thing where they were just standing in the ring and the system was doing promos and to also I don't see who are the next contenders. I don't see who can even go in the ring with the 2 to 3 top ones that I can name
Yeah.
right now. And I don't know if they're getting more from NXT or how they're doing it, but I just I can't even think in my head what's going to happen with them next. I'd
Right.
like them to be
Okay.
more women's. I'd like there to be more women's tag teams and not just have the best paired up with a random person.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why the unholy union should have never lost the belts.
I agree. I
They're a
was
tag
mad.
team, dude. Like they're a tag
They're
team,
an actual team.
and they're entertaining, and they're good in the ring. Like I don't get it. I
Mhm.
don't.
Bad
If
call.
they should have, they could have even. If it was about Jade and Bianca like looking better,
Mhm.
they could have even kept them away from them for a while
Yeah.
and let them defend their titles. You know?
Make them look bigger and better. And
Yeah.
And
that way,
And then
when
it
they
would have
do-
been more when they actually finally did lose the belts to them.
Yeah,
To give them the belts right back, like that was.
bad call.
Yeah,
well,
that
you
was-
could tell it was fan service for where they were. You know.
Yeah,
same,
even though
you know,
Triple H said
this
it
is how
wasn't.
is.
Yeah,
It's always this.
They're
It
always
This
gonna
has
say
nothing to do
no.
with being in Ireland. These
Yeah.
girls worked their butts
Mhm,
off,
mhm.
and it was their time. And
Yeah.
2 weeks later,
Just
it's
so
not their
happened
time.
to be in Ireland.
Yeah, it's a
Yep.
liar.
Guess
Okay,
it was
guys,
Jinder, it was
so-
Jinder Mahal's time too.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that continues the women's portion of our segment today. But
Right on. There's definitely some news, some more stuff to talk about.
look, there's something I want to touch on, and I don't know if
Jey
people-
Uso.
Yep, Jey Uso. So, big bad main event Jey Uso
Ugh.
defeated
Ugh.
Braun Breaker to become the Intercontinental Champion, and I love it. WWE did not drop the ball on this. It did not hurt Braun Breaker because he is young, new, and Jey
Ooh-wee.
Uso deserved it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because last year around SummerSlam, when he was facing Roman Reigns, all the fans wanted him to win. They all praised Jey Uso. Now, a year later, these same fans be hating on Jey Uso because he beat Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
Now, that's a little unbiased, if you ask me. These people hating on Jey Uso after they relished
Yeah.
and wanted him to win against Roman Reigns 1 year ago. So, what do you guys
Okay.
think about that?
Okay, so I've never really been able to express my opinion on the Usos because I've always been afraid of the backlash, to be completely honest. No one agrees with me. And when no one agrees with you, it's hard to express your opinion. But I
It
will
is.
say, I've always thought that the Usos were boring personality-wise. I've always liked them in the ring,
Hmm.
but I've never connected with them. I've never connected with them as singles wrestlers. I've never connected with them as tag team wrestlers. I like the stuff that they do. Obviously, in the ring, it's good stuff. But there was nothing nothing that they've ever done where I've been like, oh man, I'm a big fan. You know, I've just never been a fan of the Usos. And the Yeet thing is dumb. We've talked about this before. Like it's something simple for the fans to say, and they happened upon it like randomly because Jay and Cody Rhodes got drunk at a press conference. So good for them for running with it. But Yeet literally means to throw.
Throw your hands up.
No,
Throw
No.
your hands up. Throwing
no.
them.
I mean, I guess you can yeet your hands in the air, but it doesn't make sense. Yeet is when you chuck something. Oh, I yeeted it. It means you threw it.
Well, he also
Yeah.
yeets himself off the top rope to do that splash.
I mean,
In the context he's using it, it's just a word.
yeah,
It's
it's
like
silly.
skibbity.
It's
Yeah.
just
Like
right,
yes
like skibbity. Yeah.
yeah.
It's silly.
like
It's
the yes
ridiculous.
Yep, like a yes movement.
Yeah, but at least we know what the word yes
The
means.
yeet movement. Yeah.
Means yes. It wasn't improperly
Well, you-
using it.
You wish people knew what the word yes means.
Anyway, anyway, and I love
Can I get my
Braun
piece
Breaker as
on
the
the-
champ. Personally, I
Okay.
think Dragunov should have won the freaking tournament, and him and Braun Breaker could have tore it up, and Braun
That'd be
Breaker
good.
could have kept the belt. That's
Mhm.
what I wanted to happen from the beginning. From the first time they announced everyone, I was like, "Oh, Dragunov should win." Freaking him and Braun could have a fire match.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping for. But for whatever reason, they decided it was time to elevate Jey Uso.
They had
And, you know, maybe it won't hurt Braun Breaker. Maybe it won't. And that's fine. But to me, it was the wrong time to do it.
Yeah.
for Braun Breaker. Maybe not for Jey Uso, but for Braun Breaker. I think, like I said, Dragunov should have won. Him and Braun Breaker could have freaking tore the house down. It would have been Sammy and Braun Breaker on a 10. You know, it would have, I just would have, yeah.
All right,
I would have
Pablo.
preferred that scenario. So,
Pablo.
Okay, so yep. So my thing, I have a little bit of a different take, but as far as the boring thing, yes, back then they were boring. You know, they were just same way Rocky Maivia was boring. There, the whole gimmick was I'm happy, I'm
Yeah.
snowing.
Yeah.
But thing is though with the Uso, right, is that Jay is one of these people that's benefiting off of the what CM Punk's song would say, the cult of personality.
Yeah.
He's benefiting off the fact that he's actually fun. He's his good facial expressions when he does things, you know, he's been a trooper. He's taken his licks like a champ. You know, he's taken his punishment. He has been here for 14 years. Same thing with Kofi, you know, and you can get me canceled and all of that, but I don't believe that long-term employment means equity. To be honest, he did deserve a singles title because of how much he did for himself. I do feel like we are in the oversaturation of Jey Uso era because I can count on my hands and toes how many main events he's had this year. And he's had more main events this year than Shinsuke's had matches.
Right.
So if I'm being honest, I don't want to see this viral yeet monster Jey Uso do much more than just lose it to Jacob Fatu.
Mm.
If I'm being honest, I think the rub was nice. You know, Rikishi does not feel the same way because he felt like it should have been a bigger stage. I disagree. I think the best Raws are when you actually get a title change you don't expect, and it gives you a reason to talk about Raw.
Absolutely.
It gives you a reason to be like, oh my goodness, like this happened. You have to watch instead of knowing that Bash Berlin's going to have this title change and nothing else.
Yeah.
The fact that, you know, like one of the biggest moments of the year a few years ago was when AJ beat Jinder for the title on an episode of Raw.
Right.
I believe it was Raw, right?
Maybe a SmackDown.
And
either way,
was it? It was one of the drafts
One or two.
where it was the first round of the draft, which I believe is always on Raw.
Yeah, it is always on Raw.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah.
Raw.
So this is the thing about it, right? You know, I understand giving somebody the spotlight that deserves it because he did the LA Knight thing, right? He got himself over. Yeah, it was from like a silly little like, you know, conversation that him and Cody Rhodes had during that press conference that year or whatever. But I do agree on it being on a Raw for two reasons. One, I don't think that he's getting the Intercontinental title in a meaningful, like this wasn't really a meaningful feud.
Right.
It was just, it was a tournament, and then I'm gonna say that I'm gonna do the same thing that they did with Kofi Kingston. It was like I'm going to bang my hand against the table and be like, I've been here for this long and I deserve this. And just because I don't have this or I'm not this doesn't mean I can't be. I'd agree with him not winning the WWE Championship, even though if I would have rathered him do one, I would have rathered him win the WWE Championship instead of the Intercontinental.
For sure.
Because at this point, I don't think he needs the Intercontinental Championship, and I don't think the Intercontinental Championship needs him.
Nope.
I feel like it's not going to do it. With LA Knight, it did, because LA Knight was a brand new person coming up that hadn't won anything.
Yeah.
And it was his, you know, like it was his time because he's of age. You know, Jey Uso is going to be in the Hall of Fame if he quits tomorrow. As far as the Rub Intercontinental Championship, that's meaningful for him. I think that's a good one. You know, it's the championship his father had. It's the only one they would have allowed him to have. And it seems like it's the only one they will allow Jay to have. if
Yeah.
I'm being
Okay.
honest. It just seems like you're in that pocket where you're stuck in that mid and that like that's your peak.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Yeah.
really want to give somebody a 14-year gift, it's not the mid card. As much as I like, it's my favorite belt. Intercontinental Championship has always been my favorite belt because it's a
Yeah.
workman's championship.
Oh
He's
yeah.
a workman, but he doesn't need it. And
Mhm.
I agree with Brent. Braun doesn't lose anything. He's a chaotic neutral. He's like literally just chaos
Future world
personified.
champion.
So,
Future world
Yeah.
champion.
and I hope
Yeah.
so.
It's open.
And
Yeah. It's open.
it was really cool to be able to tell my father and my brother, be like, oh yeah, Rikishi's son beat Rick Steiner's son for the belt.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
Now-
it is crazy.
It's a wild world, a wild time. But it's
For
a
sure.
cool thing though. But yeah, I agree. I agree with both of you in ways. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question. Would we feel the same way, or would you all feel the same way if once Jay had branched off and done his solo, if it happened right then and there instead of all this time waiting and it happening now? Like, would there be a difference in how you felt?
Well, I think if he had won it when they first split off, I would have been more behind it. I think I wouldn't have had as much time to get tired of Jey Uso as a singles wrestler, which at this
Mhm.
point, I'm just tired of Jey Uso. I was
Yeah.
tired of the Usos, so I was glad that they split them up. And now I'm tired of Jey Uso. So I think that if they had done it,
Sure.
Sooner.
yeah, if they had done it sooner, I would have been more behind it. And also, if I don't, like I said, I feel like it came at the expense of what could have been a really, really great freaking match and helped Braun's mystique even more. So,
Well, if I can go next, piggybacking off of what you said, I agree because I've been to a few lives this year, Raw specifically. They've beat the Yeet to the ground. They've beat it to the
Sure.
ground. It's overlived its welcome. One, it's just stupid, and it's another reason to get like Sexy Red, and now Cardi B is going to be at SummerSlam.
Right.
Hooray!
Yeah.
Congratulations we're us Bronxites are really winning now. So I just think that it's overdone. I feel as if
Yeah.
it would have been better when he split because he was taken seriously. And
Yeah.
this whole entire time he's been doing this, he hasn't been taking himself seriously, but he's expecting us to.
Right.
Yeah.
And I 100% think that Jimmy is just done.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Jimmy he's in a what was it? A ditch beyond Doug. Because after he lost in WrestleMania and the fact that he's at this point just Naomi's husband, like,
Right.
I don't imagine that, they'll come back, but even if he comes back with Roman Reigns, right? If he comes back with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso to team up together, I'm not going to look at Jimmy Uso the same because he's just this, excuse my language, he's just this shithead brother.
Yeah.
And that's all he was, just shithead younger brother. I think he's younger by like a minute. I don't even know.
Something like that.
Some odd seconds, but like, yeah, because I've seen a lot of their interviews and I followed them because I started to like them more once they did their day one stuff and they started to
Yes.
be like, oh, I'm going to be less of a carbon copy of literally what Rocky Maivia was coming out with doing the Haku.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, the Haka, I mean Haka. I said
Yeah.
Haku, the Haka.
Well, I do.
like, yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with you all that it should have happened as soon as he went solo. WWE definitely dropped the ball and they tried to do other stuff and they left him hanging out in limbo.
Mm-hmm.
And then now all of a sudden they're trying to pull it back and be like, okay, yeah, here it is. Yeah, it should have happened back then. We've all had the hype and everything, and then later on we could have had something a lot different. Now, I mean, you can still have
Right. But the thing is,
And this Rhea thing is dumb. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's all to say on that.
I hate
Yeah.
it so much.
So
like,
dumb.
why does
It's so
somebody always
stupid.
want to? Why does somebody always want to have to fuck Rhea?
Exactly.
It makes her look like an object. It's the
Yeah,
same thing
I
we
hate it,
wanted to
dude.
stop.
Yeah.
I hate it.
You can't keep
That's all I wanted to say on
You
that.
can't keep doing that. You got to. If you're gonna move forward and you're not gonna do this objectivity anymore or anything, you gotta like push past it and let it.
I mean, and romantic storylines are fine, but Rhea was already done with hers.
Yeah. It did.
You
they
know,
need to
I
move
mean,
on
why
from
didn't? Yeah, I don't like it.
No, it's trashy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's almost
I don't
as if
dig
we're
it at
going
all.
backwards a bit,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and we don't need to go backwards. We need to go forwards.
for sure.
But yeah, I'm not a big fan of how they do things sometimes in WWE. Like, for example, the Jey Uso thing is definitely one of those examples. The LA Knight thing was definitely one of those examples. If they would have cashed in on LA Knight a year ago, and made him the world champion, that man would be so over it wouldn't be even funny. He almost
Right.
started to lose his overness because of that, because they waited so long to slap gold on him. I feel
Right.
like that happened to Jey Uso. I mean, yeah, Jay's very, very over in the company. I mean, it's one of the most popular superstars they got. They had to do something. They had to slap gold on him at some point. We just knew it was going to happen. It did happen at the expense of Braun Breaker, but I still think that Braun isn't hurt by that, and he's going to be world champion, and he can laugh about this situation when it comes down to it.
Right.
Yeah,
I
he'll
hope
be
you're
a
right.
darn good champ. He'll be a darn good champ, and hopefully Paul Heyman guy.
I'm thinking that's what I'm thinking. Paul Heyman guy. We're going to find out. I can see it.
Paul Heyman.
Mhm.
I liked the Dangerous Alliance.
Yeah. But as for how it went down, WWE I think had to,
Yeah.
and they knew it.
I'm just disappointed because what I was hoping would come out of it didn't come out of it, I guess, more than anything. You know?
Yeah.
So
I just don't like the fact that they went the Kofi Kingston route, where they were just like, I've been here 14 years. I've been looked to the side,
Yeah.
passed aside. It was like, you know what? You know who else has been there for 14 years and been passed aside? Truth.
yeah.
What makes you so deserving? Because
Truth left.
that's the thing. That's the thing about it, is like,
Yeah.
Carlito's been there for a while too. He never got anywhere past
Right.
Intercontinental, as far as
Right.
But it's almost weird because it's like he was begging for scraps and got the IC belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does it do for the IC belt? Does it make it more prestigious, or does it look like a consolation prize?
I think that's it
Like
right there.
a
Nailed it.
Rolex that you get after getting your 20-year pension.
Yeah. Thanks for your service. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for your
That's why we're
service.
making
Yeah,
that
here you
way.
go.
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
a
the
tin
title.
hat and a cardboard box next to the other guy. And then it also makes you wonder, it's like they're putting so much on these certain people. Where did Uncle Howdy go?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what's their next move for them?
Because
You think the Street Fight
it's
is
not
into things with American Made, or you think there's more to go there?
No, I think they're done.
they have to be done with American Made, because I'm done with it. To be honest,
Exactly.
I think that what they did with that street fight was I'll give you okay, so in WWE the games, right? There's a GM mode, and you only have like 4 levels of a rivalry until it's completed, right?
Right.
Okay.
So that was their completion. It doesn't have to be on the Bad Blood, as I thought it would have been on
Yeah.
Bad Blood, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
Maybe Gable against Uncle Howdy Bad Blood,
Hmm.
because we at some point have to get the leaders going after each other.
Right.
Right.
But unless it's for the tag titles with Loomis and Gacy, I don't actually see where it's going anymore. Considering
Yeah.
I wrote a very lengthy blog about what I think they do,
Right.
I think they blew their load.
Right.
Like
Yeah, I think there was
they were like,
definitely
"Now
different
what?" And they're
directions
like,
to go. I've talked about that before. Like,
There's
I
only so
think
much
that
space in a game. You spend
Yeah.
half the show on Judgment Day, and then you spend the other half on the Bloodline on each one, and then you're like,
Right.
where's time for anything else? We're doing the Pure Fusion Collective, and we're doing Damage Control,
Which I
and then we're
think that
doing
team is the worst.
Bianca.
PFC is the worst team in the WWE. I'm sorry.
I think they might be the worst faction I've ever seen, actually.
Yeah.
can they do the Dragon Ball dance? Because if they don't do the Dragon Ball dance, then I don't want any part of it.
They fuse together and make like an even angrier Shayna.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, you remember the first time that Goku and Vegeta realized that they could fuse?
I
They did the
remember it
dance?
like it was
They
yesterday.
did the
Like it was
dance?
yesterday. Don't
Yeah.
We're not making this an anime podcast because I will
Yeah.
go. You think
Well,
I
maybe
rant
we-
about wrestling? I will go on a
Do it.
tangent.
We didn't do it. The PFC did it.
Yeah,
The
PFC.
booking decision to make Vegeta lose to Goku, and the booking decision was horrible. The way they booked
Camp.
that Majin
Goku
Buu
camp.
heel turn, the way they booked the Majin Buu face turn,
Yeah.
just
He
look at
turned
things
people
like
into chocolate
booking.
and ate them, dude. You should never be a babyface. If you've been eating people, if that's your gimmick that you eat people, you can't be a babyface.
Right?
Yes.
Not only is he a baby face, he has a baby face. He is a face
Yeah, he
of
does
a
have a
baby.
baby face. He does.
Yeah.
Also, he sounds like one.
Yeah.
You know, think Boo sexy, give Boo smooch.
Yes.
And he was talking to that girl. He's like, "Oh, Boo doesn't. Boo isn't part of your social norms or something like that." It was like, it was
Yeah,
really funny.
that's
He's like, "You
hilarious.
think Boo's sexy?" I was like, "Oh my god,
That's so funny, dude. Oh, man.
what a good pivot from wrestling to go into Dragon Ball Z.
Indeed.
They're
Yeah.
the same. They're the same thing. They're exactly
Yeah,
the
it's
same
all
thing.
it's all the same. Wrestling's everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Cody's
I
just
mean,
gonna
there's a
start
wrestler
charging in the
on
ring.
there's a wrestler on Dragon Ball Z. So
Yeah, that's true. Actually, there have been multiple fighters and things like
Yeah.
that and references.
Yeah.
But Cody
Anyway.
Rhodes is going to go Super Saiyan 2 on Roman Reigns after this. Where do
Yeah,
we?
just what do you
Where
guys
is this
think about
whole?
that?
Heel turn. Heel turn.
There's so many people who think there's going to be a heel turn. I think it'd be a huge mistake.
I do too, but it could happen.
Oh, for
Never know.
Roman?
No, for Cody.
From Cody. Heel
He's
turn.
going to go straight Homelander and turn on Roman.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
that'd
what they're saying.
I wouldn't mind it because everybody.
what
is-
angle
I think it'd
would
be
they
a
go
huge
in?
mistake.
That's the thing, though.
Yeah,
Like how?
that would be.
Because we could workshop this, but like, what
Yeah.
sense would it make to have Cody as the heel?
because everybody thinks his title reign is boring.
But it's not. It's
But
awesome.
That's what
It's
the
a
talk is.
babyface title reign. It's so awesome.
But think about it, though.
He-
Think about what he's
He
been
is
doing.
Captain
He's been
America and
fighting-
Superman.
Exactly.
He's been
And
fighting
people-
solo Sokoa, though.
Yeah.
Right.
He's just been fighting solos. He's been fighting the third worst Uso.
Yeah.
And there's
I
only
mean,
3 of them.
you
No,
weren't
he's
here when
already
I was talking
mentioned-
about Solo.
Yeah.
Oh.
We've already mentioned it, but he's going to
Yeah.
lose it to Jacob, if anything. But he's
Yeah,
not
that's
even,
what
he's
I
like,
say.
it's just making Jacob look good for
Right.
him to just beat Solo again.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Solo Sokoa.
Congratulations,
Is,
Solo.
yeah.
You're 1 in
Good on him.
55 in the last 2 years. Congratulations.
Good on him for getting to the main event. But man.
Yeah, and pushing them as I like their gimmick. I like that Solo gimmick of I'm the undeserving, but I'm going to assert myself into the head, and then I'm going to bring these chaotic evils
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
have them do my dirty work and
Yeah. Like
have Tongaloa literally ruin my thought of GOW. My God, Tongaloa he's comically bad.
Oh
Yeah.
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 That bark.
Yeah.
Not a no. Tamatonga does the bark.
Tongaloa.
Tongaloa is the one
Yeah,
that
Tongaloa. Yeah,
Tamaloa is he's the only person I've ever seen to botch a low blow.
yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Oh well, you need to go to more indie shows, dude.
His phantom punches are worse than Shane's.
Yeah.
His phantom kicks are even worse. They're like
Oh
they're
yeah.
like 12 inches from the chest.
They're like the fake Jordans I have in my closet right now. They're like they're just trashy kicks.
Trash kicks. That's awesome.
But
That's
as far
hilarious.
as Cody, yeah, I'm bored of Cody. I feel like
Yeah?
they have to do much more with him. I don't know where he goes after this. Him and Roman against Fatu and Sikoa,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
then what does that? But what does that lead to?
Yeah.
Him
You
with
got-
what
you
are
can't
they?
have Roman
Him,
win.
Randy, Kevin, and Cody, like Cody, Randy, Kevin, and Rand, like they're just gonna hang out together and just be a
Yeah,
boys club.
dude.
Is that?
Yeah. It's gonna be the new Four Horsemen, but baby faces who don't do nothing.
With Kevin Owens. Okay.
They faces don't do that. I like it. But my thing is, you can't turn Roman heel like now. He was a heel for like 3 years almost.
I mean, you could, and that would be like,
It would-
oh,
It'll be a good swerve.
Yeah,
good, though.
I would
Good
rather turn Roman heel. Freaking
He's so
Cody
good
goes
at
for the
He is
tag and
good
catches
at
the
it.
Superman punch.
It's like dangling the carrot in
You
front of
know?
us. It's like, oh, we're gonna
Yeah.
get a good nope.
Babyface Roman. No, you're not. Because has
Yeah.
Roman really done anything that wasn't selfish since he's come back? You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
That's his gimmick.
You know?
That's his
Yeah.
gimmick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
It's all been
Yeah, but-
selfish, dude. It's all about
That
getting
it's
his
all for
spot
Roman.
back.
Yeah.
It's all about getting his spot back.
Well,
Yeah.
back in the day, whenever he was with the Shield, you can ask her. Like, I was so determined that he's going to be the best heel out of that faction, and
Yeah.
I figured that he would have been the first one. I had him pegged down to be the first one to turn, but no. Seth
Oh,
Rollins.
Seth Rollins, dude.
Seth-
Seth Rollins
Seth
is
is
the
the best
cocky
heel.
bastard. Yeah.
Seth is top 5 heel in the game. He's top 5
Yeah,
heel
love
in the
Seth
game.
Rollins, dude. Love Seth Rollins.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I hate.
He's a-
I hated
And he's
that
such
he
a
turned on
heelish
him.
baby face. He's
Yeah.
just, you know
Can we
what
ma-
I mean? He's just, man.
I hated
Can we
that
mention
he
something?
turned.
Really
Kid's a
quick.
rock star.
Can we mention something?
Go ahead.
Did anybody else see Seth Rollins get thrown over the barricade
Yes.
at the
Bears
Colts game?
Yes.
Yes.
That was
The
hilarious.
Bears Colts. He
Yes.
had a Colts jacket, and then he ripped it off to show he had an 18 jersey that said Rollins on the back. And then T.Y. Hilton, Colts legend, throws him over
Threw
the
him
barricade.
over. Yeah.
Then they threw him out of the game.
I love that. Yeah, exactly. He got escorted out. It was like, I love that. Like Seth being the big Bears fan he is.
Yeah.
You know, like the fact that he was the one to do it made sense because I would see him on Up, Up, Down, Down, and like they would play Madden sometimes, and he would always rant and rave about the Bears, and like he was like a football fan and all that. So it was
Yeah.
him doing that. I like that though because they're showmen, and WWE is showmanship, and why not?
Right.
I'm still waiting for the next boxing match that has 2 wrestlers in the crowd like beefing with
Mhm.
each other, and then set it up to be an angle.
That's awesome.
Well, hey, isn't that a little bit weird because him and Seth and CM Punk have something in common?
Hey, they both
What,
like Chicago.
Chicago love.
The Bears. Just the
Well,
love
that's
for
the
the
thing
Bears.
I found funny about them. That's the thing I found funny about them. The fact that they did not like each other, but they share allegiances.
Share.
The
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bears.
The Bears.
Bears.
The Bears.
Who would win? Who would win it in a match? Hurricane or Mike Ditka?
I'm going Ditka, dude. He was mean.
But wait. The
Uh-oh.
Hurricane's name is Hurricane Ditka.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Da Bears.
The Bears.
Ah, Bears. That was an actual skit from I think it was the one where Michael
s-
Jordan was on it.
Oh, I
So
remember
confused.
that skit. Yes.
I was like, what is happening right now?
No, I'm a big Saturday Night Live geek.
Yes.
'Cause
Yeah.
my father used to work across the street from Rockefeller.
Oh, that's
and,
awesome.
Yeah, that was one of the things I remember the most about. Rest in peace, Chris Farley. He was great in that
Yes.
skit.
My favorite.
But
comedian of all
that was one of the questions. That was one of the questions he had asked. He was like, "Who would win?" While I was eating his turkey leg,
time.
Hurricane or Ditka? And then the guy asked him. He was like, "What's the name of the hurricane?" And then Chris Farley says, "Hurricane Ditka." And he was like, Bears.
That's awesome.
Bears. Doubles.
That's
good-
hilarious. That's funny.
I love
Good
it.
stuff. All right, so Bad Blood Saturday, right?
Yeah,
Are we
Bad
gonna
Blood.
talk a little bit about that at all, or are we just gonna roll out?
Oh, I would like to at least get to the card.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do
yeah,
At
yeah.
least.
card.
Especially
got going on?
if we're doing a Sunday deal next week too, because it sounds like we
Right,
possibly might.
right. So we'll be talking about what happened. Okay.
So I'd like
I
to at
would.
least go over the card and then figure it out.
Yes, for sure.
All right, what do we got?
Well, if I
Didn't
can
bring
get
it up.
if
Hold
I
on.
can get this to pull up here. I got it. Okay.
Right.
We have a singles match for the Women's World Championship. Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley.
Liv Morgan.
With Dom in a cage.
Oh, I've seen
And a
the
shark
pictures.
Yes.
Dude, is
Yeah.
that picture of Dom in the cage? Is that a legitimate promo where he looks like I don't know what he looks like, dude. It's just-
I saw that. It's funny.
yeah.
I'm going Rhea.
Yeah? Nah. Liv's gonna win.
You know what I'm doing? I'm going this because they already showed her at a taping. It's going to be the biggest turn. You know what I'm talking about, right?
No, but did Tiffany cash in?
Oh, I think she
No.
will.
Oh. No.
I don't think so.
Okay. What's
Vicky
up?
Guerrero comes and gets Dom Mysterio.
Interesting.
Enter
That
Vicky
would be-
Guerrero.
Enter
She was at
Vicky.
an NXT taping, I believe.
Ooh.
I just want them
Right,
to
I
go
have,
through
I have heard that she's back in the company, yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
thing that they're talking about the illegitimate son of Eddie Guerrero, which is obviously
Right.
an absolute horrible thing for them to be doing to Rey
Yeah.
Mysterio's wife.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just want them to go head first into it and just be Vicky, take Dom
Take
into
her
her
son.
arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he just goes by he goes by Dominic Guerrero the rest of the time.
Oh, man.
Quick-
That'd be great.
Quick answer is that Rhea decimates everybody in Judgment Day and loses.
Right.
Yeah, probably. You're probably
Right.
right. I'm going Rhea though.
Set up tag title match
Yeah.
somehow.
No, thank you.
Singles match. Damian Priest versus Finn Balor.
Is there
So
a dog in my yard? Why is there a dog in my yard?
I don't
know.
know, brother.
Okay, never mind. All right.
So
Damian
you
Priest.
want Damian Priest to win,
Of
You know.
course.
Yes.
but if they're going to keep this thing going,
Finn Balor.
Finn
I
Balor
don't want
wins,
them to.
or
I
Damian
want them
Priest
to be done.
wins and it sets up a tag title match. Because I still think they're going to be moving towards a tag title match.
Yeah, I think so too.
So it just depends on where they're going. But Priest
Just
could
ends
win.
up Rhea folding up JD McDonough. That's what it
Yeah.
leads to.
Yeah. Again.
All points lead to Riptide on JD McDonough.
What does she call that pin?
Riptide? No.
No, the pin that she
I thought
does.
that
where
was
she- the humping pin.
the
The pretzel.
third
The
base.
pretzel. No, she calls it the pretzel.
Third base.
I'd like
pretzel.
Damien to win. I'd like Damien to win and then to be done because Finn
Yeah.
Balor is his talent is wasted right now. He's being
Yeah, it
wasted.
is.
I agree.
He is Shinsuke right now. At this point,
that
just
mustache.
separate and just make the OG Bullet Club.
Right.
Otherwise,
go.
just leave. Otherwise, leave me alone.
Shave that mustache.
Finn Balor.
And
leave me
shave
alone.
that mustache.
Won't work. Does
Oh,
not
yeah.
work. Okay.
Hell in a
does.
Cell. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. CM Punk wins is my prediction. Let's end this thing.
Yeah, Punk probably wins, but I would love it if Drew won just because I like Drew more.
They
So-
are saying, listen, so they are saying that the next feud will be Drew McIntyre and the Wyatt Six,
Interesting.
No.
with CM Punk being, now this is a rumor, and I've read
No.
a lot on this, that CM Punk will be the leader of the Wyatt Six.
Oh, that's terrible.
I don't know
What?
why.
What?
That's terrible.
I don't know why either, but that, if you get on Sportskeeda or any other wrestling news, that is the rumor.
Terrible.
Well, those are the same people that are talking about Cody's heel turn.
Yeah,
Disavow.
Yeah.
indeed. If
Okay,
CM Punk's going to lead a stable, it should be a stable of chicks from NXT.
There you go. I'm down with that.
Yeah,
Keith.
I can see that.
I can see that too.
Because yeah.
Roxanne and AJ Lee.
That would be a good match.
Yeah.
Or
Or a good
team.
stable. Yeah.
So yeah.
My thing is that okay, so for my prediction is that GTS off the Hell in a Cell.
Oh, that'd be sick.
CM Punk wins. CM Punk wins by incapacitation.
Right on.
Yep.
No pin.
Next match is a singles match for WWE Women's Championship. Nia Jax versus a to be determined. I don't know if
Delta?
Uh-huh.
All the way up to the main roster now.
Tiffy.
Yeah.
Could it be Tiffy?
Oh, man.
Jordan
I don't
Grace.
want
Jordan
them to- I
Grace,
don't
and she
want them
picks
to-
her up.
Yeah. I don't want them to break up Tiffany and
Well,
Nia.
I don't know. Nia grabbed her up by the throat the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
some people will be into that.
Yeah.
some.
I've seen those videos.
Y'all
Whoever
didn't
it
see,
is,
but I was
think-
pointing at myself.
I think she
But,
will retain. It could be Charlotte Flair.
Could be.
Tiffy time. Cash
I
in.
would love to see
I
Tiffy
don't-
win.
Me
Um,
too.
I don't know who it's going to be. But Nia only facing Mia Yim this entire time has been boring me, and I'm
Yeah.
over
Mhm.
the mean girl Nia Jax because it just reminds me of when she was mean girled by Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
It's just like, do you boo boo? But Tiffy time, she cashes in.
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome if she does. I hope
I don't
she
even-
does.
Do we have a guess on who the to be determined? Should we? Should
We just
make
threw a
a
bunch of
wager?
stuff out, but
Mine's probably either Charlotte or Tiffy. That's my to be determined
yeah.
guesses.
Where's Becky?
Retired.
Home forever.
Sadly.
Yeah, she's done. She's raising babies.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say because obviously they have some.
Trish Stratus.
Where's it going to be?
Lita. Lita has actually been talking lately about wanting to.
Oh, I
Yeah.
saw that. She was talking about wanting to come back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to see her scorpion herself. I saw that. I saw her hurt herself, her neck live, and it made me want to stop watching wrestling.
And our final match
Cool.
on this card is a tag team match: Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns versus the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa and Jacob, the Man Beast Werewolf.
Yeah.
Fatu.
Simone Werewolf. Simone Werewolf.
Yeah. Small werewolf.
Yeah.
So what I would like to see happen is Jacob Fatu pinning Cody Rhodes, getting a title
Mhm.
shot. That's
Mhm.
what I would like to see happen. There's so many different scenarios. Roman could, like we said, pull the screw you card and some due to a miscommunication or just him not giving a crap, take Cody out and try to come back for his belt. I mean, a lot of different scenarios, but ideally to me, Jacob Fatu pins Cody.
Yeah, that's what I see.
I agree.
But
yeah,
I agree.
I could also see Jimmy Uso returning and getting involved in this. Just saying.
sure.
But on what side?
On Roman's side for sure.
I would like to workshop this as the writer mind. So what it is that Jacob Fatu decimates Cody
Right.
after Roman is incapacitated having one of his naps. And Solo demands the tag in. Jacob Fatu looks around and says, I got this. This is for you. Does a big move. Solo tags in to get the pin. Kind of the way Solo got frustrated at Roman for not being able to win.
Right.
Yeah.
Jacob is going to be frustrated at Solo for not being able to win. Because remember when Solo did the Samoan spike and then Roman couldn't pin Cody.
Right.
And Solo, the look on his face was like, I've done everything for you. Like, why can't you do this one thing? Like, why can't you get the job done? I feel like that's when Jacob Fatu, he kind of turns and like kind of the line, what was it? In Space Jam, when they looked at the manager, the Monstars looked at the manager, I was like, but I'm bigger than you.
Right.
Let's just
Yeah.
strap you
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
rocket and shoot you to the moon. Part of me is
Right.
going to think that Jacob's going to be like, wait, but I'm better than you.
Right.
Then he's just going to not listen to him because he is chaotic evil. And
Yeah.
otherwise, Hikuleo? Question mark?
Ooh, that's another one that could come in.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
who knows?
So many Samoans.
Oh, way too many.
So little time.
way too many.
So many someone, so little time.
Can't keep up with all of them.
Right.
And where is Zilla going? Is he actually going to AEW like has been
I hope not. That poor man. He
Didn't
makes mistakes.
It's
Booker
been
T say
rumored.
Booker T said I believe that he didn't have any interest in going to AEW. But
I
no,
don't
Nice.
remember what said about Booker T.
right. But it's,
everything for him is a work. You know, like,
yeah,
was that all the card is as of this point?
That's it.
There's only
This
five
point,
matches or whatever.
5 matches.
Yeah.
That's their standard card match.
are they going to
5 matches.
announce? Are they going to announce one coming up? Is there even what Monday's the go home show?
Right.
For
They
Raw,
could
and then
throw an intercontinental title match on there or something, right? Or
No, I think
or
5
they
is
could
their
throw
max.
that Uncle Howdy versus Gable.
yeah, right.
That would be cool, but I think that they're just sticking with the 5 matches on these new cards. I hate it. I'm used to 7 or 8, and they're doing
Right,
5.
Right.
Are they more quality matches? Maybe, but that's
I
to be
hope so.
determined too.
Yeah.
You know,
that's something we can see that in the future coming up.
yeah. So I don't. I
Sure.
personally I don't like just having 5 matches on a card. It's short. You're not getting, and they got too much talent to be just exposing.
Right.
So
Too
little.
much going on. It's hard to move
Yeah.
things along if the big show only has 5 matches on it. But
Right.
Yeah, because how many storylines are you leaving up in the air, or how many?
Right.
Well, a lot of it is actually that they just didn't try for a lot of storylines because they knew that they were only going to focus on the Judgment Day and the Bloodline, and that's what
Mhm.
Blood this entire time has been. Like as soon as
Yeah.
I heard the name Bad Blood, because I was at the Raw where they announced the name, and St. Paul, but
Yeah.
as soon as I knew it, I was like, it's only going to be Blood feud. It's only going to be
Yeah.
Roman Reigns against. I knew immediately Roman Reigns was coming back for that specifically, and then I already knew
Yeah.
that it was going to be Damian and Finn,
right.
Yeah.
and it was just it's literally built for it. It's like putting Hell in a Cell in the name and then having a Hell in a Cell match. Oh,
They might have a pre-match
Imagine.
with.
who would
they
have
could
thought?
They
Yeah.
could have a
Good
pre-match with Pete Dunne and Sheamus.
Hey.
That's also in the elk of Bad Blood, but I'm also kind of
Yeah. Sure.
over
Pete
that.
Dunne, the
I'm over
teacher.
that as well.
Yeah.
Pete Dunne, the
I'm just
teacher.
over it. Mhm.
I do like Trick saying that Pete Dunne is nothing but a butch. It's pretty funny.
That's funny.
Pretty
Making that
funny.
song, he was funny. He was
Yeah.
funny. Yeah.
Pretty funny, man.
But it also leads to the fact that I think NXT is more viral than anything. Like I feel like it's an internet sensation first, wrestling product second,
But the wrestling is
popularity
amazing.
contest
So,
second, maybe.
yeah. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. But I want there to be more of that. I want there to be more wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. There's so many girls in that roster. It's like
There is.
where
And
are
they
they
all,
How are
they're
they gonna
there
fit
every
them
week
all?
sitting in the back.
Exactly. Like, how are they going to fit them all? And now you have Stephanie Vaquer already saying that she's going after Julia.
Right.
And I
Mhm.
say Julia because I think Roxanne loses.
I really hope
I
not.
hope not.
I really
I
hope
hope not, but I think she
It's
does.
Silly.
Well, it does nothing to Roxanne to lose at this point.
Yeah. I mean, the only way I'm okay with her losing is if she debuts on Raw the next Monday.
Well, I think that's inevitable, and I think they should pull the plug on it now, because otherwise she's just going to get buried into whatever they're going to do for Royal Rumble. Let her and
Right.
Tiffy go at it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Her and Tiffy would be great.
Yeah. I mean, they hinted at AJ coming back and working with her. When
But
she
it's
did
like
the
having
little
a
promo with Punk.
Yeah.
So
But think about it though. It's just that of all the NXT, and we all know that NXT is the minor leagues to WWE. Of all of them, who is the most ready? It's her.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
100%.
for sure.
They got to pull the plug
Absolutely.
and then let Sol Ruka, let Ren Sinclair, let
Yeah.
Thea Hale, like let all of them do it. You know, you don't have to
Right,
carry them
right.
anymore.
And
Right.
on,
Stephanie Vaquer versus Julia is the money.
yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And on that note, I think we should just wrap things up.
Hey now.
That works. Yeah, I
This
got
is fun.
I got a 3:00 showing, 3:00 here, but my Washington Commanders are coming off of a win, and I want to see them play. And I'm going to go to a place. I'm
Joy.
also by the next podcast, I will be in a brand new apartment, and I'm actually very excited for it.
Awesome.
I'm anxious.
Nice. And the
but I'm
next
excited.
podcast, there's a chance that there'll be some big things going on. We'll announce that. So keep an eye out on social media and all that good stuff, because we may be having a pretty big announcement
Awesome.
for next week's
All
show.
right.
Considering what
for having me.
MVP said.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you, Brianna.
Thank you, Brie. Yes.
Thanks, Brianna.
For joining us today and giving us
Yeah.
that awesome insight on the women's wrestling. As for everyone else, hit that like and follow. Please leave comments. For Keith the Wild Man Miller,
Woo!
Pablo Aquino, and myself,
I believe
Brent
in
the
Joe
Nightmare Ward. We will see you next week. Enjoy, everyone.
All right.